Thanks for listening to the Von Haessler Doctrine podcast. Remember, you can hear the show every weekday from 9 to noon right here on 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk. Live from Sherwood Forest in the heart of Atlanta, Georgia, Hour 1 of the Von Haessler Doctrine begins right now. I am your lovable, huggable, mid-morning chat host, Eric Von Haessler, surrounded by the Doctrinaires, man of 1,000 voices, Tim Andrews, lady of quite a few voices in her own right, if I do say so myself, Autumn Fisher, and the handsomest producer in all of producery, Jared Yamamoto.
Happy President's Day, Eric.
Oh, and boy, what a big holiday this one is. Happy President's Day. What a great day. This is where we are supposed to celebrate all of our presidents equally. No matter if they sucked or whether they were great. We just celebrate all of the presidents. Well, let me just say this. In the Von Haessler Doctrine, hopefully I like to present myself as a rehabbed, a reformed shock jock. Someone who's older and wiser and not out there just to shock. So I guarantee the audience I'm not doing this in an effort to shock. But on this President's Day, I don't have enough room to celebrate every president. I looked at the list. One has to go. And hopefully everyone will agree with me. I have reasons for this. But every president except for William Henry Harrison. I'm not celebrating William Henry Harrison.
Now, why would you not do that, sir?
Well, because you were barely president. I have to say, you were
Still was the president.
You had the shortest presidency at 31 days. And it looks to me as if you were quite the fool. Now, don't get me wrong, William Henry Harrison, your conduct for this country in the War of 1812 was unbelievable, and I salute you, sir.
They call me Tippecanoe.
I understand that.
I don't know why. I don't even know what it means.
Also, you were the first Whig who was elected president for 31 days.
Still president.
President.
How many days were you president?
But I'm going to tell you this. A lot of people, they thought he was just a warrior type of person. This William Henry Harrison. On this President's Day, you can learn something about vanity, ladies and gentlemen. William Henry Harrison was afraid. You know, back then, when was he elected? 1840-something? When was he? Yeah, 1841 is when he got in there, and he died like 31 days later.
So?
Well, back then, people became president. I know it doesn't seem much to you,
that
sir.
That was 4 years for you.
31 days you were president.
I was a duly elected president of the United States of America, all 16 states.
I'm saying that your vanity allowed yourself to...
Vanity?
This is why you died. And I'm trying to explain to people that back then you could become president and still most people didn't know who the hell you were. You know, because we didn't have media the way we have it now. We didn't have television.
We had Twitter.
Well, we did not have Twitter. We had newspapers. Things moved slowly. The Telegraph and such.
I hear you. We didn't have that yet.
So a lot of people didn't know who the president was at this point, and the inaugural speech would be a time where you'd get the headlines all over the country for a day, right? So he wanted to prove that he was not just this. He wanted to prove he was a tough guy and an intellectual. So he was sick. His wife was so sick she couldn't go to D.C. He was sick. But he decided to not wear a coat, to ride on the back of a horse and not in a carriage. It was a terrible day. The weather was bad. And then he gave the longest inauguration speech in history, over 2 hours, standing up there.
I had a lot to say.
He died of either typhoid pneumonia or paratyphoid fever. We don't really know. 31 days later,
if we had the WSB
dead.
Radio app, I would have known it was a 5 on the Whiggish meter.
I think you let the Whigs down. You know, you ran in 1836 and you lost. You won in 1840. First Whig president, 31 days later, you're dead.
I don't even know what Whig stood for.
I don't know what the H was all about.
We didn't like Democrats. We didn't like Republicans, which weren't even around yet.
No, Republicans weren't even around yet. They were nascent.
Well, let me tell you this. Tyler went on to become a very good president.
John Tyler, yes. Now, I will celebrate.
I gave you John Tyler.
I will celebrate Tyler as one of the presidents in President's Day. But William Henry Harrison, sorry, you're off the list.
I'd like to tell you one last thing.
31 days. Yes, William Henry Harrison.
You can't have Tyler without Tippecanoe. You know the rhyme. Tippecanoe and Tyler too. I got a head that's filled with goo.
No, we don't need to.
I'm going to die pretty soon.
Here's another thing. Well, you've put on a coat and act like a real person, you wouldn't be up there dying.
Oh, like James Buchanan?
You died in such a way. Yes. Don't go after James Buchanan, sir. Lifestyle choices being what they are. And he wasn't even president yet when you died.
If only we'd had Rush Limbaugh.
And I want to say this, William Henry Harrison. I think you'll agree with me. I know like a couple people have said to me this morning, I say Happy President's Day. They say, all 45 of them. Not true. Not true. This president is 45, but there have only been 44 presidents of the United States. It's the Grover Cleveland conundrum. He was president twice, but not in a row. So there have been 45 administrations. Grover Cleveland was the 22nd and 24th president. Because there was a period of him not being president, he was given 2 numbers. So don't be an idiot today. The Von Haessler Doctrine already helping you not be an idiot on this President's Day. Number 1, you have my permission to remove William Henry Harrison from your festivities because he wasn't there long enough to matter.
How dare you?
Don't be silly and say you're celebrating all 45. The Cleveland conundrum, ladies and gentlemen. There have only been 44 presidents. Let's do this.
Headlines for Monday, February 17th.
There you go. Grover Cleveland, what did he do? Nobody talks about him.
I invented Sesame Street.
All right, we have a lot of audio I want to get to.
Yes,
you can
we
start
do.
hitting me with stories, but don't take me off the path of the good audio. Did you see Bernie Sanders has women taking their clothes off in front of him?
I did see that. That was
out in Nevada.
Some pro-dairy protesters interrupted a town hall.
Anti-dairy,
Anti-dairy
that would be
protesters.
people who are against.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, and they interrupted a town hall that he had.
Hold on. Is this because of Joaquin Phoenix? Is he starting a whole new movement? Do you have Joaquin Phoenix from they say that these actors are influencers, and I guess they are. He sparked, because I've never heard this. I've heard of I'm 55 years old. I've heard of every kind of protest, but I didn't know that people hated the dairy farmers because what did Joaquin Phoenix say? We rip the children from their mothers. And
we feel entitled to artificially inseminate a cow, and when she gives birth, we steal her baby, even though her cries of anguish are unmistakable. And then we take her milk that's intended for a calf, and we put it in our coffee and our cereal.
Check your dairy privilege. And so now he's in Nevada, and the milk people come out, and we don't have one lady takes her clothes off. She's topless, and just standing there, and Bernie's just over on the side staring at her. And but then the first lady jumped in there and she started to explain what this was all about.
Right, she takes the mic from Bernie.
What is it? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Bernie Sanders. So he's walking up to the microphone, and these kids, I tell you, these kids today, they just don't care. They don't have any respect. She just jumps up and grabs the mic from Bernie Sanders.
Bernie, I'm your biggest supporter. Bernie, I'm your biggest.
By the way, you're starting out by saying something that can't possibly be true. I'm interrupting your speech, and also I'm your biggest supporter. Probably your biggest supporter allows you to have the stage and your speech.
I'm your biggest supporter, but move over. My boobs are out.
I'm your biggest supporter.
I claim my time.
You need to sit down and shut up. But I'm your biggest supporter.
Bernie, I'm your biggest supporter. Bernie, I'm your biggest supporter, and I'm here to ask you to stop propping up the dairy industry and to stop propping up animal agriculture. I believe in you.
And then the other lady takes off I was watching it on the Bernie live stream, and they started cutting the microphone at one point, and then when you saw the girl with the boobs, they just cut the stream altogether, and they hit with a still photo of Bernie. Help me.
I need your help.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good.
Bernie, in these situations, he just stands there while the mic is taken over, and he waits for the situation to calm down.
I lower my head and gaze at my shoes.
You were looking right at her. We got photos.
No, you can't prove it.
You know what, Bernie, as a matter of fact, you know what, the reason the people love WSB and the Von Haessler Doctrine is we're willing to invest at a time where media is pulling back the dollars and what they invest. We've got this campaign covered like no other. As a matter of fact, we have invested the money for microphones that are so good. These microphones are better than your average microphone. These microphones are so good, Bernie, that we could hear your inner thoughts. That's right, Bernie. As the lady took her shirt off and was protesting dairy, strangely enough, our newfangled microphones picked up not what you were saying, but what you were thinking.
Okay, yeah, good. Those are lovely. I wish that I were younger. I would reach over there and them with my hands and maybe even tweak your. But we have more important things that we've got to do right now, and that is to stop Donald Trump from destroying our democracy.
Stay focused. That's the important
wow,
thing.
These microphones are good.
Yeah. That's why people come here, because at a time when other media outlets are pulling back with the money,
they were nice.
We don't have free.
Let me just tell you,
the mic.
Yeah, good. They were very, very, very distracting. But look, I have one message for these milk people.
Yeah, the milk people. Yes.
Nobody's going to drink roach milk.
Is that what they want?
Milk or almond milk.
You know what? Almond milk is quite popular. Because
people are dumb.
My wife's sisters. They're all on the almond milk.
Why?
And I don't know, but I will tell you something. Judging a book by its cover, the words almond and milk don't go together for me, and so I won't even try it.
You ever tried to milk an almond?
It's very difficult. It took me all day to get 1 ounce. It's a lot of...
The nipples are small.
The almond nips. Yes.
The Von Haessler Doctrine.
He's extremely funny, he's got a great sense of humor, and he brings a lot of good content to the air.
On 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's news and talk.
All right. They didn't run my Daytona 500 yesterday. I got all excited. Trump was there.
Wow, did you see me in the Beast?
Saw you in the Beast.
The Beast.
But then they only ran like 25 laps, and then the rain came.
You know, Eric.
Yes.
Look, I love NASCAR. It's my favorite sport. I love to watch cars and trucks.
I know you love trucks. That's for sure.
And I like the Beast. But let me tell you this. I thought it was an insult to the commander-in-chief that they postponed the race.
Well, it rained.
Oh, rain. Who's afraid of a little rain? A little rain. Oh, I don't want to get wet. Ooh, I don't want my car to get wet. Look, I drive in the rain. I was able to fly away in the rain. I was able to buzz the racetrack in Air Force One. Have you ever seen that?
It's a little bit different in NASCAR.
Oh,
it's the high banking, and you'll just...
Oh, are you going to slide? Is it ice? It's water. It's water. It's concrete, water, asphalt, tires, just like everybody else.
It was a big to-do there before the race. They did run like 20 laps or so, but the president did the... I got to say, I expected a little more in the start your engines.
Oh, yeah?
I expected a little more.
Why?
I just thought it was going to be a little more powerful.
He was the Grand Marshal, right?
He was the Grand Marshal, and so you do a bunch of things. He spoke to the crowd, but he also did the gentleman. By the way, he said gentleman. Lately now people are saying drivers. But he said gentlemen.
Oh, how many women were on the...
There were no women on the grid.
Okay,
but
gentlemen.
Now people say drivers all the time.
Yeah, but they were all happy. They had 7,000 women there doing the announcing.
Daytona International Speedway, we love our country, and it's truly an honor to be with all of you at the great American race. Gentlemen, start your engines.
Seemed a little...
What's wrong with that?
Gentlemen, start your engines.
A little flat.
Gentlemen.
I thought I'd give us some start.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Maybe the race would have lasted more than 20 laps if you'd given a little more of a boost.
Hey, I got nothing to do with that. I mean, if they're afraid, whatever. Are they running it today? Is today the thing where they do one lap, flip a coin, and it's over?
No, that's
on to the next town.
You know what it was?
Be at 4
Pack
o'clock.
up all of our trucks with our cars and our wheels and tires.
I love trucks of all types. I do.
I do.
The people over at Fox Sports interviewed you, and you know what? Maybe you went so fast because you wanted to actually jump in the race yourself.
So inquiring minds want to know, as the president, are you allowed to drive your own car?
Well, I'm not, but I think I'm going to really, right now, if I can, I'm going to hop into one of these cars, and I'm going to get into this race.
That's right. I'm taking the one with Tide all over it.
You like the Tide ride.
I love the Tide ride. I love it. I have clean clothes. We use Tide. Melania. Melania only buys Tide when she goes to Walmart. She brings it back. These giant jugs of Tide.
Sale.
Right. She's really good with a penny.
That's it. Look, you're doing quite well for yourself.
We wash our own clothes, but no, will the media talk about that? Obama, well, he flew all of his clothes to China.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Is that true? Obama would send all of his...
He sent all of it. Look, and you couldn't be more racist or stereotypical sending your clothes to China. Like the people here could do it. So what we do is Melania goes downstairs. She's teaching Barron how to iron shirts.
Mm-hmm. It's a good thing for a young man to know.
It's important to use enough starch.
She likes starch, the spray starch, whatever, the powder, whatever. She does a great job. Good job, Melania.
Thank you, darling.
Just jumping around here to see. I didn't hear this, but our very own sports director, Jay Black, told me that Elizabeth Warren. We are getting to the point in campaigns where people just start losing their voices. It just gets worse from here. By the time you get to October, the throat is just shredded. Unless you're Bloomberg, who doesn't show up anywhere.
I don't have to go anywhere.
You don't talk to anyone or do anything. You just have a gazillion commercials. But Elizabeth Warren says here she can barely speak, but she's ready to win.
This is our time.
Whoa.
To dream big, to fight hard, and to win.
This is our time.
Yes, Elizabeth Warren.
We're gonna do it.
You have to.
Nothing's gonna stop.
You have to protect yourself when you're out there.
I'm
you're doing.
trying my best.
My goodness, let's hear that again. Do you have the coronavirus?
This is our time to dream big, to fight hard, and to win.
I'm trying my best. I'm gonna fight hard.
You sound to me like you're just about out of fight.
Oh,
that does not sound to me like somebody who has a lot of fight left in them.
I've got plenty
This is our time to dream big, to fight hard.
You know what it is?
And to win.
She realizes that old white men are beating her, so she's trying to trick people by sounding older than she actually is.
Someone get her a hall. Menthylate them.
She's trying to pretend that she's.
Get it away from me.
She's 92 years young.
That's right. Just because everybody else is old doesn't mean I can't do a good job.
And very quickly here, just a few more pieces of sound that caught my eye. I guess, was this on Univision or one of the Telemundo?
Univision.
So three people were talking to Univision. Klobuchar, Steyer, and Mayor Pete.
Yeah, they were talking to Guadalupe Vengas.
He's great.
Yeah, excellent reporter.
Is he the guy that Trump yelled out, threw out of the thing?
I don't think so, but I'll double check, though.
All right, so at some point, I suppose you could think of this as a gotcha question, but not really. If you're going on Univision, you might want to know the name of the president of Mexico. Two of them were stumped. Only Mayor Pete came up with it.
I'm sorry to ask this, but do you know who he is? Do you know his name?
Yes. I know that he is the Mexican president.
But can you tell me his name?
No.
I know he's a Mexican.
No.
Am I close?
I gotta say, most of us might say, what is it? Obrador. I mean, most people might say, well, I don't know. But if you're running for president and you're a Democrat, and how horrible this president is for calling for a wall on the southern border has to be a part of every speech, you might want to take the time before going on Univision to, freshen up on Mexican facts, starting with what's the name of the leader you'll be dealing with as president of the United States.
Here's Tom
Steyer.
A lot of people don't even know his name. So you know.
I forget.
Do you know his name?
I forget.
And then Mayor Pete gets some style points for the way he pronounces it.
Can you tell me who the president of Mexico is?
Yeah, President López Obrador, I hope.
You're the only one that's been able to tell me that today.
Really?
Yes. Wow.
What was
He
going
went
on?
so fast.
The guy who was
Guadalupe.
Guadalupe guy. What was that? I think that was like, remember Chris Matthews said he had felt that trickle down his leg with Obama? This guy got the trickle in the throat. Changing things at the last minute for Jared. I like tossing a challenge at him.
A little audible.
That's the beauty of live radio, right? I just have to see him go crazy.
I do love this. It's fun.
I want to hear that again, so let's go right from the top because it is funny. Are these the only three that were on Univision?
Correct. And it was Telemundo, not Univision.
Telemundo. Well, my producer told me it was Univision. Is it Telemundo?
Telemundo, yeah.
There's more than one, Eric.
I understand that. What about you? You're not better than me.
Well, I
Sábado
know.
Gigante.
Hey, listen. We all love a big Saturday. Something
Sabado
like
Gigante, thank you.
that's Big Saturday, isn't it? Isn't it the Big Saturday?
See.
That's the Big Saturday show. I love it.
Maria de la Barrio.
Absolutely my favorite. You're not better than me.
I am a little.
No, you're not better than me just because you knew that it was on Telemundo.
Un poquito.
So, Tom Steyer, Amy Klobuchar, and Mayor Pete.
Correct.
You'd think before you're on Telemundo, that you're on Telemundo, you would look over your Hispanic policies, things to do with Mexico, border issues, and part of that would be you would know the name of the Mexican president. But 2 out of 3 got it wrong. Amy Klobuchar first.
I'm sorry to ask this, but do you know who he is? Do you know his name?
Yeah. I know that he is the Mexican president.
But can you tell me his name?
I know that he's the Mexican president. That is the worst. Boy, when your brain, sometimes it's just better to go, you know what? I'm an idiot here. That really, and what is Aleppo? Really should have been the response to that. Just go ahead and let people know you don't know. That is the worst.
I wish literally she said, what is Aleppo?
Yeah, I do know he's the president of Mexico. Do you know the name of the president of Mexico? I do know he's the president of Mexico.
No.
By the way, are you working on your Amy Klobuchar? She doesn't have much of a distinctive voice, but she's rising, and we may have to talk to her. Just think of your favorite 4th grade teacher, and that's Amy Klobuchar.
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Here's Tom Steyer.
Tom Steyer.
A lot of people don't even know his name. So you know.
I forget.
Do you know his name?
I forget.
Look, I don't know. I forget. I don't. What?
Mayor Pete knocks it out of the park.
Can you tell me who the president of Mexico is?
Yeah, President López Obrador, I hope.
You're the only one that's been able to tell me that today.
Yes.
Wow.
I'll tell you something. There was something about this interviewer. Did you hear that noise?
Guadalupe Vengas.
He said his name very well, but this guy was, when he gets impressed, he makes this noise.
President Andres Manuel López Obrador.
Sorry, he thought he was going to get 3 out of 3. Didn't know. It really took him by surprise.
Well, and Pete said it so chill. He's like, López Obrador.
I'll tell you something. I was watching the weekend shows, the Sunday shows. A lot of the candidates were making the rounds. I'm not talking about policy here because I'm a capitalist myself. But I've been watching races for a long time, campaigns for a long time. Mayor Pete's the best they've got. Now, he may be too young, and people don't know him. They have to get used to him. Like I say, I'm not a libertarian. People, when you say conservative these days, people decide that means something that it
hater.
Yeah. I'm a libertarian. People give me a pass. Like, I think he wants pot to be legal. Okay. I'll give him a pass.
Hates roads.
He's not so much into filling potholes, but he likes pot. So you get a little bit of a pass when you're a libertarian. Good.
No.
No.
So
Guys, have a seat.
Mayor
Take your
Pete
seats.
is not my policy prescriptions, and I don't think. But just as a candidate showing up on these shows, he never looks rattled. Just in terms of being a candidate. He's 37. A lot of people don't know who he is. I don't know if he can go all the way.
I can.
You can.
And I'm going to. Eric, listen, tell me what your policies are, and I will adopt them.
Well, I'm sort of a fiscal conservative.
I can do that.
And then I don't care about people, how they act. Social liberal, I guess. I don't care how people live their lives.
Join the big team. Come on in for the big
my
win.
Business.
I'm Mayor Pete.
No, but you got
President Pete.
You've got all those wealth taxes and people who are successful.
That'll never happen.
I'm not in favor of it.
You know as well as I do that'll never happen.
Okay, it's just a matter of you're just going to be a cool-looking president.
I'm going to be a cool-looking president. I'm going to look Putin right in the eye, and I'm going to go, what do you got?
So there's a lot of talk about Sanders and what to do with Sanders. People in the Democrat Party are, just losing their minds because I do think it should be Trump versus Sanders, to be honest with you, because these are the two most popular politicians in America right now. They're both populist, and strangely enough, some of the people who was Sanders last time voted for Trump in the general, meaning this isn't about policies. It's about somebody who appears to be aligned with their own personality. They're not trying to pretend there's something that they're not. And that's and more in touch with the people, having a lot more to do with whatever people's ideas for good policies are, because you really can't vote for Sanders or Trump and have any sort of intellectual standing whatsoever, any sort of political philosophy that you're going by, because they're at odds with each other. I mean, Trump is mostly a capitalist.
Mostly.
You know, the tariffs and stuff make you wonder. Bernie is a complete, as close to a communist as you can be, socialist, collectivist. How people can jump from camp to camp? Well, it's not based on policy, obviously. It can't be. It's based on personality. And since these two are the most popular politicians in America and conversely the most reviled, it probably should be, the election should be between Sanders and Trump. Now, I think there's no way that Sanders can win. I don't think that socialism, collectivism can take root in this country. But hey, I was one of the 9,000 people on the radio and television and in newspapers last time saying Trump couldn't win. So what the hell do I know? But I will tell you this as a capitalist. If Sanders became president for 4 years, we would have capitalists in the Oval Office for the next 25. Give them 4 years to take this economy and squander it and crush it into the ground, and the response will be Reagan after Carter. Let's do this.
This is interesting.
Or
No thanks.
and this is, you would think that it is self-explanatory, but let me explain it. My producer, Jared Yamamoto, will throw a series of headlines at me, to which I will respond either,
This is interesting.
or
No thanks.
or that. You know, we have a third one today.
Yeah.
This is going to be our meh. I like the fact that he makes the noise and then he does the snort afterward.
Would you call that a giddy grunt? A giddy grunt? How would you describe that?
Giddy grunt.
You did it.
This guy needs to get himself together before he interviews people. All right, what do you have for the first headline?
All right, this first story comes from Fox 8 Cleveland.
Oh, they're good. As Fox affiliates in Cleveland go, they're the best.
Wine prices are expected to drop due to an excess supply of grapes.
No thanks.
Now, normally, I'll be interested in such a story, but I have a sad tale. What are you
I
laughing
just like, you're like normally.
I have a,
Sip.
I'm trying to be rather dramatic.
Sit back, kiddies. I've got a tale to tell about how I normally feel about grapes.
I have a sad tale to tell.
Okay.
About Eric and the squashed grapes, the ripened, whatever happens, let them sit out.
Fermented?
Fermented. Takes a while to ferment the grapes. That's why I'm taking time on my point here.
You have to have patience, just like you have to have patience with the grape.
I used to like, patience with your grape. There's always
relax.
I've always told the kids, be patient with your grape.
Grapes?
Don't rush them.
Relax. Don't rush the grapes.
Don't rush the grapes. So I used to really be all about the wine, and even more than that, the whiskey, and less than that, the beer.
How about the song?
The song, I'm very much into. Still into the song, because the song doesn't do anything to my inner organs. But now that I'm the old double nickel, 55 years of age, I have noticed that alcohol makes me feel when I'm going to the bathroom too much. Is that one way to put it?
Makes you feel.
No, the alcohol agitates what's the thing down the prostate.
Oh.
Yeah, I can feel it. I can feel it.
Really?
The other sometimes on Friday nights, I'm getting rid of so many different parts of my diet that I know now when something is making something else happen. Because it used to be that I was so full of chicken sandwich and chocolate shakes and a million other things that I didn't know what the hell was causing anything. Now I don't eat hardly anything at all, so I notice what food or drink will do to my body. And not this Friday, but 2 Fridays ago, I was having one of my, hey, it's Friday. I'm going to sit back and drink a bunch of beer and have some whiskey, and bam, it hit me, and I realized, my goodness, alcohol is making it too difficult for this old man to pee. So I don't care about grapes, I don't care about wine, and I don't care about alcohol anymore. Because this is what happens, folks. When you get older, you think it's difficult to quit drinking until it hurts your prostate. Then it becomes very easy to drink
Alcohol
water.
does something for me, too, that I'm afraid to talk about.
Uh-oh. Well, is it family friendly?
Yeah.
Well, you're afraid to talk.
It irritates.
Well, Be careful.
My,
yeah, I know. Does it? No.
Hem starts with a hem, ends with a oroids.
Well, you need to get those things taken care of.
No, they're fine.
No,
they don't really do anything.
You don't have to live with them. You don't have to live with them.
I don't.
You want to be at a party when that explodes?
They get a little drunk and then.
Well, I think it's probably the same thing that happens to the prostate. They get enlarged. Mm-hmm. They get agitated. They get excited like the giddy grunter. That's it. This is how my prostate responds to whiskey now. Imagine those poor cowboys before medicine really knew what the hell was going on, drinking that whiskey. Oh God,
rot gut.
Who was? I shouldn't have gone to that whorehouse. They don't even know what's going on.
Everything's falling off.
At least I've got this whiskey. They had no idea there was a connection.
They're like, well, I'm 37, so I'm pretty old.
Yeah, I'll probably be dead soon. Mm-hmm. All right, next story.
All right, this one comes from apartmenttherapy.com.
Apartment therapy.
Yes, apartment.
Proving that
my apartment is depressed.
I think you could either say that or just that when it comes to real estate, they're running out of URLs.
Yeah, they're running out of names. House Hunters welcomes its first throuple homebuyers this week.
Throuple. House. Now, first of all, it's 2020, and I will not have that kind of hatred being expressed on my show.
How do you feel about it? You have to do your g or you're interested.
This is interesting.
So House Hunters is one of the 9,322 shows that my wife watches about people going in and flipping a house in some way, right? And now the throuple is there. This is, I take it, 3 people in a relationship.
Correct.
Do you know, is it a man and 2 women? Or
it is a man and 2 women.
Okay, we've all seen that before. Anyway, now it's called a throuple because of that lady who got thrown out of the House of Representatives, right? What was her name?
Katie Hill.
Katie Hill. The word throuple came into being.
Because she was in a throuple relationship with her husband and
then it
a
went
staffer.
south.
Yes.
It went sour. It went
Shocking.
south.
Wow,
yeah,
really?
It went, well, you seem very anti-throuple.
Yes, I do.
And we can look into that, Autumn Fisher.
No. No.
I will say this, that Katie Hill, was that her name?
Katie Hill.
And she got thrown off the hill. I think all she showed us is that throuple, when a throuple breaks up, it's going to be even uglier and messier than when a couple breaks up. But we'll get on to House Hunters when we get back. All right, Autumn, what is your problem with throuples? They're usually very open-minded about all sorts of arrangements. You seem anti-throuple.
Listen, I don't care what you really do. It's fine. Go be in a throuple. But don't expect for a healthy relationship to continue if you're in a throuple.
You don't think it's possible? Here's a good question.
I don't think it's possible. That's like saying, there's a billion stars in the...
Yeah. You're saying it's not probable.
It's not probable.
Here's a good question after 32 years of being in the same marriage. I would ask you, is it possible for couples to get along for all that long? Let alone a third. Seems to be an awful lot of compromise that goes on just between 2 people.
Right, and so bring in another whole brain with opinions and doesn't load the dishwasher another weird way.
Wow. Maybe you bring in somebody who actually does load the dishwasher well. It'd be, in a throuple, I think all 3 people have to be good at something different, and those things must complement each other. But yeah, I think after a while it becomes. I think it's just like make a choice. Isn't a throuple really? Why not have 4, 5, 6? Why 3?
Yeah, there's a reason why that doesn't work.
We'd have to go to Utah for that.
Well, they are polygamy is now. They're trying to make it more legal.
Yeah, they're trying to make it legal again.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what kind of you're talking about. If it's a bunch of unattractive 40 and 50-year-olds together, I think that's fine. But at the point that. Yeah, she just turned 16. She's in our marriage now. That's a weird one. You got to worry. And how do you prove that? How do you prove grooming? It's impossible to prove. Oh, he befriended me and was really nice to me and then wanted to have sex with me the moment I was legal.
Yep.
How
he
do
was
you
like
prove
a
that?
father figure to me, and so I fell in love with him because my dad wasn't there.
Yes, so it's kind of difficult. But
yeah, I don't know any hot Quakers.
What? Excuse me.
Quakers.
Excuse me.
Well, I'm just, you remember that? Wow.
First of all,
people?
Hold on.
Second of all,
the Quakers are not polygamous.
I know. I'm
so
talking
why don't
about
you
that.
apologize to all the Quakers
Don't
listening?
drag us into this.
Yeah, are the Quakers? Do they?
Yes,
do
they
listen to radio?
Yes, they do listen. They're not.
I don't know what Quakers are allowed to do.
She's getting First of all, they eat lots of oatmeal. One of their great Quakers of all time is right there on the.
You're right.
On the cover on the
cereal
box
too.
Oh, absolutely. The Quakers make great oatmeal. So who's to say they would? But you're getting them confused with all kinds of different people.
I'm talking about that
Who's she
group
thinking of?
LDS.
No, she's thinking of the people who don't use electricity.
Oh,
up in Pennsylvania.
Amish.
Yeah, they're not the Amish.
I know that. Do you
You
remember
know
the
what?
group of women wearing those dresses and they were creepy and they had the weird? They all had the same hairstyle.
You know, if you're going to have an opinion, you might want to know what they're called.
No.
No.
Hour 2 of the Von Haessler Doctrine begins right now. All right, this Tim Andrews has been all over me about wanting to promote his podcast, Radio Labyrinth. And so it turns out he has photos that I don't want other people to see. Blackmail works. So go ahead, sir. What do you want to promote?
Okay, this morning, we dropped our most recent show. It's a half-hour interview with me and my co-host Steph, where we interview Alpharetta Police Department Sergeant Mark Tappan and his K-9 officer Mattis, who are currently appearing on A&E's America's Top Dog.
So is he still in the running as perhaps
Yes.
America's Top Dog? We don't know yet, but you may have interviewed the handler for America's
Yeah,
Top
we couldn't
Dog.
get it out of him.
We don't. He
No.
didn't. Oh, is it over now? And he
It's
has to
over,
hold
but
it.
he
You gotta sit
can't
on it.
reveal it. Yeah, but he's doing very well.
Is it a drug dog or something? Is it a dog that
K-9
finds
dog, so it'll
all of them.
it'll do all that stuff.
Did you shower extra long before you came in?
I don't know what you're talking about. But let me just add this, because we've talked about it before.
clothing. That stuff will stick around for a very long time.
No. I deloused, whatever.
Okay.
Depotted.
Yeah.
This show is 100% safe. There's no bad words. And
really?
It's a very uplifting story of how Mattis came into service of the K-9 unit and how the Sergeant Tappan met the dog and how they worked together. They're partners.
Is this a new thing? Every once in a while, you're going to drop a family-friendly Radio Labyrinth?
We're
Is this a new
experimenting with it. There's no swear words. It's not dirty. Your whole family can listen. It's a
I
great
told you
story.
years ago, don't work blue.
Yes.
Radio Labyrinth. You can pick it up in all the
All your
places. All
podcatchers.
your pod-catching places.
Go to Spotify.
You have, you like it, but you get,
Thank
what do you get, a kickback or something?
No,
to go to
no
Spotify?
kickbacks.
All right, what do you,
I've got two open mics for you.
Open mics, all right.
All right, so we're talking about throuples in the new HGTV
Throuple.
episode.
That's three people in a relationship.
Yes, and this gentleman left an open mic about throuples.
So what happens when an argument happens in a throuple? Do the two women start teaming up on the guy? Does one woman pick the guy's side? Oh man, I'd watch that for hours. The back and forth. You always take his side. You always take her side. Oh my God.
Yeah, the problem with the throuple is that you're creating a voting block.
Yeah.
2 versus 1. Yeah. Right?
You're right.
So
why aren't you ever listening, Tim?
See, this is what
Listen to when he's speaking. Listen to him.
See how bad it is right here on this show? And we're not even, well, you guys used to, but, we're not all
Yeah, but I wouldn't
in
be
a
in a
relationship.
guy-girl throuple.
You wouldn't? Well,
Why not?
You and
It's
two
more
girls.
self-serving if it's two women, yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. All of your relationships need to be self-serving.
Exactly.
Yes.
Why get into one
Tim
if
just
it's not?
doesn't understand.
He doesn't understand the throuple culture.
He doesn't understand, what we have. You guys have something
Yeah.
different between you two, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Look,
we fight more than
love-
you two fight.
My love is equal for both of you. I want you to know.
I know you say that in front of him.
Listen. I love you both equally. You see what happens here?
Why do you
It's
always
out of
buy her?
balance.
Why do you pay for her dinner but not mine?
Look, it needs to be a fourple.
He pays for your dinner, Tim.
We need a fourth. Where's a fourple?
Jared,
we
you
can
wanna
have
join
Jared,
us?
you want in?
Well, I mean, after seeing all this,
Jared, we do more than fight.
I love this. I'm in.
We fight hard and
we play hard.
Bring
So-
Tina and we'll have a quintuple.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, that's awful. You have another open mic?
Yes, I do. This is regarding Elizabeth.
A fourple. I want a fourple.
I'll get you all fourple.
I don't understand. Don't call it a thruple.
Why?
Couple means two.
Because, but this is how the language works. It's vernacular, right? It's
Yeah, you can't
lingo.
Literally killing me.
It's a threesome, but you can't say threesome because it has sexual
No, threesome
connotations.
is only when you're having sex.
Right.
A throuple is a throuple when they go about their business. They go to work. They go to shop, all three of them together.
Well, the weird thing about this throuple is that Brian and Lori on this HGTV show
You're talking
are
house hunters.
Yeah, house hunters. They're the ones that
First of all, they're dangerous people.
I know.
They have two.
If they find your house, you're screwed.
They'll take you
I came
out.
home, my house was hanging upside down by its neck and blood was dripping out.
I see the house.
Brian,
I'm going to
house
steady my
hunters.
breathing. Hold on.
Brian.
My house
house is haunted by another house.
Brian and Lori already have 2 children together, but I think it's Jelly. I think is how you say her name. It's G-E-L-I, unless it's Gelly.
Gelly.
Yeah,
it's Gelly. I don't know.
Gelly would be, I guess,
does it matter?
Would be the way to say it. But
kids.
I think it's got to be weird for her to marry into this
So she's bringing 2 kids in with her.
Well, Brian and Lori already had kids, and then
I
Jelly
see.
joined in. And that's got to be weird.
It's like Aunt Jelly.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Aunt Jelly.
no, it's
listen,
Mama Jelly.
Mama Jelly.
You should know this, Jared, because it's a Greek name.
Oh, and you
I
are
should know this.
You're
Greek by association.
Your girlfriend pretends to be Greek. She masquerades as someone of Greek lineage when 23andMe has already told her she's Italian, but whatever. She already paid the door fee.
Yeah.
She paid the Greek door fee. She's in.
Hey, you know what? The lines changed over time. I have one more open mic for you. This is
All right.
regarding Elizabeth Warren sounding really hoarse. She was
Wait, first of all, play Elizabeth Warren for people who are just joining us.
This is our time to dream big, to fight hard, and to win.
So it sounds like the last scene of a movie. It's like, okay, and then she.
One day away from retirement.
All right,
she's getting too old for that crap.
Hey, this is Mike in Madison, and I think that Elizabeth has been hanging out with Lindsay Lohan because they sound a lot alike.
That sound like she's been
Thanks for the great show.
Sound like she's been partying. You been partying with Elizabeth Warren?
Yeah, she's been really awesome. She's like a harder partying than I am.
Yeah. Well, you sound like you're taking care of yourself. I'm always reading
I'm
about
doing
how you're
great.
doing better right now.
I'm doing so great.
Yeah.
I'm doing so great. I'm off of the drugs. I'm just on prescription Adderall.
Okay.
And
But you
I've been
are
drinking a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not really drinking.
Here's
I'm
the
just
thing-
like
yeah.
a couple of cocktails at
Here's
the end of the night.
Here's the thing
deal.
about
I get a
prescription.
little too drunk sometimes, but the Adderall helps me bring me back.
The thing with prescription drugs is you're only supposed to take them as prescribed. I don't know. If
I mean,
you
I
reckon-
prescribe them.
I know that, but you're supposed to take them as
I
prescribed.
know, but I take them because I'm so hungry. But I can't eat, because I've got this persona and
Yeah.
it's really hard. But
Do you still have a
Lizzie Warren,
persona?
she's the other day. She went into the back with this guy, and I didn't see her for 20 minutes. I was like, whoa.
Let's hear Elizabeth. What's the say sound?
This is our time to dream big, to fight hard, and to win.
You guys
She didn't fight very hard with that guy, and she won.
We don't need to know personal
It was
details.
awesome.
What do you like? Do you own an island now or something
Yeah, it's
where they
in
make
Greece.
reality
It's in
shows or
Greece.
something?
I have a friend named Jelly.
She has a new boyfriend, Eric. I just saw that in the news.
Well, it's a new
I'll
week.
tell you, he doesn't have any jelly.
Okay. Is it some Saudi prince or something? Doesn't she
She's in a band.
Oh, he's in a rock band.
Yeah, it's a rock band.
What is it again, Lindsay?
It's a rock band.
You guys enjoying? Have a good. You really sound good. You really sound like you've got your life
Thanks.
together.
I'm a little stuffed up. I got a cold.
Yeah, I know. I could see that.
Hold on, let
I
me
hear that.
break up this Adderall.
No. You're not supposed to snort that.
water.
There's no reason to snort that. It's just you
No,
just
it
take
really
it.
it kicks in a lot fast. That's all. Some people take that bear or whatever you put on your tongue.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's just in my nose.
You don't need to take it with whiskey, Lindsay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Well, you can pay attention better that way.
Hold on, it's dripping. Hold on.
All right, Lindsay's got the drips.
Yep.
Let's do this.
More headlines for Monday, February 17th.
Bye. I'm sorry. Goodbye.
A fair show.
Maybe a good.
Paracolo.
Maybe a good name for the show. Lindsay's got the drips. I mean, for the nose, for heaven's sakes, Alan. What are you? I'm looking at that face of yours. What a dirty, dirty mind. Yes.
All right, Mayor Pete hit back at criticism from Rush Limbaugh.
Now, hold on. There was no criticism from Rush Limbaugh. This is being taken to a weird thing. And quite frankly, I think what Rush Limbaugh said is being taken out of context. I also think the lovers of Rush Limbaugh are making a decision to, Mayor Pete's going after. I don't think that's happening at all. I think Mayor Pete does a good job of not turning his gayness into a platform or why he should be elected. If he was elected, he'd be the first gay president. So he's going to be asked questions, and he's going to have to answer questions. I watched him on a couple of the Sunday shows. I think he does a very good job of pivoting. And if you even hear, he says, yeah, when you're on the left, you punch Rush. That's part of the thing. And then he pivots over to Donald Trump. He's a good candidate in that sense. But what Rush Limbaugh was saying was that there are people on the Democrat side who are worried that America may not be quite ready for this. It's one thing. Now, that could be right or wrong. What I'm saying is that's what Rush was saying. You hear an awful lot about how do we stop Sanders, and that's Bloomberg. Not a lot of people on the Democrat side talk about Mayor Pete, who was a complete unknown. Won Iowa just barely, lost New Hampshire just barely. So you got a lot of, as much as control as there is on the Democrat side about what are we going to do, we don't think a socialist can win. I would remind them the Republicans were saying the same thing about their potential nominee at the time, Donald Trump, and he did win, but it's kind of the same thing. But there's also a little bit of worry about Mayor Pete. Now, this is true. When you run for president, everybody worries about everything. And so, yes, are you telling me that all of a sudden in politics, optics doesn't matter? Why do they spend so much money controlling the optics? When you see anybody at a rally, how come the people behind them look like a Girl Scout cookie box? Whites, blacks, Muslim, Christian, right? Because optics matter. So Rush was saying, is this something that they're worried about on the Democrat side? That the candidate is kissing his husband. I don't care. Trump says he doesn't care. Rush was asking the question, are there people in the Democrat Party who care? I think that answer is yes. But Rush did not go after Mayor Pete for being gay. He asked the question, are there people on the Democrat side worried about these optics? And the answer is obviously yes, because people in politics always worry about the optics. It's interesting. The flap between Mayor Pete and Rush Limbaugh is, well, you listen to the von Haessler Doctrine to find out what's really going on. This is the left and the media's way of dealing with a very uncomfortable subject for the Democrats. And it would be very nice thing to do for them to make Rush Limbaugh the homophobe, which he's not. His comments were not homophobic. Because the left and the media, you get them drunk, they might admit this to you, do not want to deal. This is like a good way to distract from dealing with Mayor Pete's African-American voting bloc issue. This is something CNN and MSNBC do not want to deal with. James Clyburn has always been, since I've been watching, the number one Democrat out of South Carolina. Always revered. Everything he said, important. I believe at one point he was with Hillary Clinton in 2008, and then during the primary switched to Obama. And that's when you knew, this is for real, because this guy knows his stuff. Remember it was about a month ago or something? He brought up, well, a lot of African Americans my age, when they have trouble bringing themselves to vote for homosexual. And that was the time that James Clyburn was he's an old guy, he's out of it. When you're running for president, you have to figure out how to get different voting blocks. And my only point is this, CNN and MSNBC just do not want to deal with. Washington Post doesn't want to deal with this. But if Mayor Pete has a problem as he goes down south, it's not Rush Limbaugh. I don't know if you've noticed lately, but primary voters don't get their directions from Rush Limbaugh or conservative radio. But it's always good to try to get an enemy, and that way you can respond to the enemy and maybe turn that into something. But what's underneath all of this is the reality that in America, not everybody, because not everybody is involved in everything, but as far as voting blocks go, the Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC cannot deal with the fact that on this issue, by and large, the white voting bloc may be a bit more progressive than the African-American voting bloc. And that's something that cannot be registered. I've said this before. I believe that in general, coming out of the closet as a black man in 2020 is something like coming out of the closet as a white man in 1975. But it's CNN and MSNBC and Washington Post and on the left generally, because they get their philosophy from the campus and the social sciences, and those professors say, well, that's not possible. An historically oppressed group would never turn and, I don't know if oppression is the right word, or be in any way any kind of phobe or istia going on to another historically oppressed group. The problem is, as with so many other things, the professors of social sciences are completely wrong about this. So for the CNNs and the Washington Post and the MSNBCs of the world, they do not want to deal with the fact that the biggest stumbling block right now as he goes down to South Carolina, and maybe he'll overcome it because you get momentum, but his biggest stumbling block, Mayor Pete, has not been Rush Limbaugh or any Republican. It's been the African-American voting bloc. So sue me. I just gave you real facts of what's really going on. Rush Limbaugh is just a nice diversion. So, see? It's those Republicans. They're the meanies. Well, let's see how the voting goes.
So is that why that this clip of Mayor Pete responding to him has gone viral on most social media platforms?
Because Rush's comments, which were taken out of context, which were, are there Democrats worried about this in a general election of him kissing his husband after a debate or something along those lines. Look, if you think this isn't being discussed behind the scenes, you've got to be kidding me. There's not one person standing behind a candidate at a rally that wasn't picked because of what they look like. Optics are everything in politics. Even Trump engaged. If they find 17 black people, 8 of them are going to be behind Trump.
Get him up there.
You don't get those aren't tickets that you get by just randomly walking in. The people who are behind the president or behind the candidates are chosen by the wranglers after they get in, because optics matter to every campaign. So in this case, Rush Limbaugh is just a nice diversion for a left and a media that don't want to deal with Mayor Pete's African-American voting bloc problem. To just button up the Mayor Pete Rush Limbaugh nonsense. And Trump was on Geraldo Rivera's podcast last week. Made a lot of news. Geraldo's got his own podcast now.
I do. I have my very own podcast now. It's
that kind of a step down for you? I mean, I guess podcasting is all the rage.
Well,
so.
I do it on Blog Talk Radio over my phone. It's great. I talk to...
Well, you had the president. I mean, that's quite a get. So at the very end, it was the last question, wasn't it? Geraldo just tossed it in there as to whether or not Trump thought that asking Trump, can a gay married man win the White House? Trump is kind of, rather than just saying, I would vote for a gay man, he says, I wouldn't be in the group that doesn't vote for, but you get the point.
Would Americans vote for a gay man to be president?
I think so. I think there would be some that wouldn't, and, I wouldn't be among that group, to be honest with you. But I think that, yes, I think that it doesn't seem to be hurting Pete Buttigieg, as you say, as you would call him. It doesn't seem to be hurting him very much. And but there would certainly be a group, you know this better than I do, there'd be a group that probably wouldn't. But, you and I would not be in that group.
Geraldo, you and the president would not be in that group.
No.
Pete Buttigieg, as you would call him.
It's his name.
I'd vote for him.
You see, the idea here is going down into South Carolina. Also, I shouldn't let Fox off the hook. They don't talk about the problem that Mayor Pete is having with the African-American voting bloc either. But I think that what's going on here is, rather than really dealing with the problems they have on the left, with maybe some minds not being as open as they would like to, it's better, let's make a big, look what Rush said. Boy, you don't want to agree with Rush Limbaugh, do you? Going down into South Carolina as a way of diversion. All right, let's do this.
It's Mailbag Monday. We've got the open mics, Facebook messages, and emails we've collected from the week.
For all this talk about the president's supposed anti-LGBTQ thing, I still have to point out he's the only nominee, while accepting the nomination at the convention, ever Republican, to mention homosexuals and gay rights in his speech. It got a warm reception, got a round of applause, and after it he said, thank you for applauding that because it's important. It seems to me that all of the anti-LGBTQ stuff is centered around him reversing Obama's trans in the military thing. Now, it seems to me that it's the left that's deciding that's everything. It's the left that's deciding because Trump turned that around about being able to be trans in the military, that means he hates all the letters of the alphabet that are laid out there. And that's their choice. The ambassador to Germany is gay. I don't know if he's not married, but been with the same boyfriend for a number of years. Mike Pence swore him in, I believe. I don't see a lot of evidence that the president is anti-gay. He's from Manhattan. He's been on the party circuit for years. I just don't see it's been his lifestyle to be anti-gay. I don't believe his daughter's anti-gay. I don't think their life shows any kind of anti-gay. The best of my knowledge, all of that rhetoric from the left comes from the fact that he turned around the trans in the military thing. Seems to me like a small hook to hang everything on. But, it's politics, so who cares? All right, mailbag.
All right, we've got lots of emails, Eric. So this first one the subject line is Tata's Bomb Bernie.
Tata's Bomb Bernie. This is the lady who took off her top because she's anti-dairy.
Bernie, I'm your biggest supporter. Bernie, I'm your biggest supporter, and I'm here to ask you to stop propping up the dairy industry and to stop propping up animal agriculture.
Well, there was no bra.
I believe in you.
There was no bra propping up anything. And that wasn't
It was utterly horrible.
That was no wordplay now, Bernie.
What are you talking about?
All right, Bernie, you're really milking this one.
Hey, that lady speaking was not the one who took her top off. As she was speaking, that lady jumped up there and stole the microphone from Bernie. And then the lady without the top showed up, and it said something, but her hair was over.
Said something about death and milk.
Yeah, something about the message. There was hair hanging over, and I couldn't read the whole message. But Bernie looked and said,
"Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Okay, look, nice set, but we got more important. Oh, look, by the way, nobody's going to drink the roach milk. I've said this before.
Yeah, you don't like roach milk.
I don't like the roach milk, the almond milk. It's not milk.
It's not milk.
I want you to call it almond water.
That's what
it's
it
not
is.
Milk. You don't milk almonds.
So this gentleman, he signs off as dog at the end. He says, the idiots who interrupted Sanders' speech are habitual animal rights terrorists.
Terrorists?
They've been doing the topless milkshake for a while now.
Now, hold on a second. Now, to be a terrorist, don't you have to sort of threaten to kill or kill people?
One would think, right?
Just interrupting. I don't know if just interrupting rallies is terrorism.
They terrorize my eyes.
Yeah, well, yes. It wasn't so. She was okay.
It wasn't so bad, but look, again, it's not the place. Yeah, good. I don't want my rallies turning into a strip club.
That's right.
He said they've been doing the topless milkshake for a while now. Grocery stores, public events, wherever they can get national media coverage. The main one of the group, I guess her name is Priya Shani, and she's the leader of DXE, which I am not sure exactly what
DXE, that's die milk people. I don't know what it is. No idea.
But either way, he's calling them a terrorist group, which I agree with you, Eric. I mean, you can't.
They're
just voicing
let's
their.
Not water down.
It really diminishes the other terrorists.
I know, I just can't. You're terrorizing me.
Look, only 2% of them are that way.
Hey!
And I don't want to skim the top.
If this is just going to lead to a bunch of wordplay on the campaign,
no way.
I am against it. I am against it. Why do you guys like wordplay
because
so much?
Because they hate the Kurds.
It's terrible.
Yay, it's clever.
It's not clever. Nobody laughs out loud. People just go, oh, good one.
Close the barn door on this one.
All right.
I got an open mic. This guy, we're going back to the throuple conversation. You and Autumn
people has thrown people into quite a tizzy, this throuple conversation.
Yes, it has.
Who cares? What do I care? What do I care if a guy's got 7 wives? I don't care.
Oh, yeah, I don't really care.
Keep it away from me.
Well,
I don't care.
This guy is actually siding with Autumn on how you describe a throuple.
I'm with Autumn on this. A couple is 2. They need to invent a new word with their mouth or new sounds. Or just go with what was already there. I mean, it's already been known that, 1 is 1, and 2 is a couple, and 3 is a few. They can call themselves a few.
A few.
Fewsome.
A fewple.
A fewsome.
Fusum is good. Yeah.
Fupil. By the way, I think you make the plans with your brain. You speak it with your mouth.
I love that he said create new words with the sounds in your mouth.
They need to invent a new word with their mouth or new sounds.
I think you invent with your brain, right? And the mouth executes.
When your mouth comes up with ideas, you just share it with your mouth.
Oh, my mouth has a new idea. Last one got me into a lot of trouble. So
I think we should eat.
yeah, I guess. Well, threesome seems to put people in the mind
threesome
of
has a sexual connotation.
Sexual connotation, yes.
But couple.
I don't think thruple sounds all that.
No, that's not bad.
No, but it doesn't sound good either. I think of. I don't even know what this means, but it's not good when you have the thrush. What does that mean?
Oh, it's a yeast infection in your mouth.
Well, okay, then it's appropriate.
Well, then you need to make some. Don't invent that with your mouth. Is that what it is? Thrush is when you have. Wow, how do you get that? I don't want to know.
Well, babies get it.
Babies get it.
Babies get it.
And if you have thrush as an adult, then it usually means you have some sort of like autoimmune disease.
Oh, okay. So it's not. Yeah, it doesn't sound good. So thruple sounds a little bit, puts me in the mind of thrush, and then. Even though I didn't know what that was, I knew it wasn't a good thing. So they need a better word.
If you choose not to get thrush,
you still have made a choice. Yeah, threesome is sexual. I like foursome. I think just add
See,
a
foursome sounds good, so make it a threesome.
Threesome is too sexual.
Yeah, I know.
You know what? I've got an idea. How about I don't care?
Threeple sounds like
orgy?
you're a pupil.
How about an orgy? How about I don't care? And you don't make a big deal out of it. Because I really don't care. I really don't care.
Yeah, don't wear it on your sleeve.
That's going to be impossible. We really want people to know we're a throuple.
Yeah, don't hit me with the
people that
rights.
want you to know that they're in a throuple are the same people that walk down the street with their lizard on their shoulder.
Right.
Like, what's this? Oh, my lizard?
What? This whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, this boa constrictor?
Yeah.
I just found it.
I just like, he likes the
It is
sunshine.
interesting, though. There is a funny story behind that. Let me tell you right now. Yeah, it's the way for people who don't know how to be social. They put the boa constrictor around their neck, walk around a carnival or something. And then people go, hey.
Pretend like there's
You're the
nothing
cool
there.
guy. All right.
The boa constrictor convinced me to get everything on my face pierced.
Exactly.
It's not a boa constrictor. It's an influencer.
Yeah. This next open mic, we haven't even had a chance to talk about it yet, but he left it during the show.
Yeah.
And he wants to know how we feel about headrest skate, where the...
this is the meme that's going on. Is it a meme? It's a viral video.
Well, it's a viral video. It's a Delta flight where this lady is pushing back, or she's reclining back in her chair.
The guy doesn't like it, and he keeps banging on her
because
seat.
he's in the last row, so he can't recline his seat. So he's mad at her.
Yeah, I know, and this is what Twitter has everybody talking about for a few days. I have thoughts, but go ahead.
Hey, this is Andre from Tucker. I don't get the issue with the reclining airline seats. They don't recline that far. It's not a real problem. I've never had issue with anyone reclining in front of me.
I've got long legs. I've never really had issue, but I've become aware of the fact that somewhere over the last 5, 6, 7 years, it has become kind of one of those things, like don't recline your seat. And so I've felt goofy about it, and I don't recline my seat. I'm usually on flights that are 2.5 hours or less. So I'm not going to Los Angeles very often, so maybe I wouldn't even think about reclining my seat on these shorter flights up to New York State. But let me just say this. I understand. Look, you have to understand, the amount of room we used to have in airplanes was a lot more than it is now. They're squeezing more people into the same space. But as long as the damn thing will recline, I don't think it should be against protocol to recline.
Right.
If things have changed, or we're jamming more people into smaller spaces, change the seats to where you can't recline. But I don't think that it's okay for people, a mob, a crowd. I don't think it's right for people just to decide, well, we've all decided collectively that no one should recline their seats anymore.
Well, then you'd be Flying Spirit.
Do they not have reclinables? They may be on the cutting edge.
Maybe.
The bus in the sky.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Did you see what the guy did, though?
Yeah, he kept punching the thing. He was mad.
Yeah, he was so rude. And
he was rude.
He asked her to pull it back up because he was eating.
Yeah.
And she said, okay. And then when that was done, she reclined it again. And then he was such a baby about it.
Yeah, I didn't watch. I've only seen little pieces of it on TV. I haven't watched it. He looks pretty young. Is he like 22
Yeah.
or something?
Oh, God forbid. She's reclining over his cell phone that's on his tray table.
All I'm saying is,
I can't play Hearthstone.
Somebody that age may feel in 10 years about his behavior as you feel about it now.
I can't get my agriculture right because the ladies.
You look like a 10-year-old kicking the seat.
Yes. He was a brat.
He was given trophies for no good reason when he was growing up. He's told that everything is about him.
Yeah.
He
Nike
shouldn't-
said, just do it.
Yeah, he shouldn't have to change anything about what he wants, ultimately and at all times. But look, it may be that there's not enough room. But that's on the airlines. Change your seats. The people can't just decide there's a new rule.
Not since Ricky Bobby and Cal Naughton Jr. has there been a couple of guys as informative or entertaining.
You can't have two number ones.
Yeah, that makes 11. Eric Von Haessler, weekdays at 9. Mark Aram, weeknights at 6 on 95.5 WSB.
What, are we still doing mailbag?
Oh, we have so much more mail.
Well, we don't have a lot of time, so you got to fit it all in.
All right, here we go. This is from @DJordanLane. She tweeted Tim and I. EVH.
Oh, I'm out of this one?
EVH
well, you
is...
know what? Go ahead. I'll just enjoy myself with a little coffee.
EVH is so wrong.
Well, that sounds like it's pointed toward me.
It does.
Yeah, what?
DJ, how could you be against Eric?
People do.
Don't suck up to me, Tim Andrews. I know how you really feel.
She writes, people do laugh out loud with wordplay.
Oh,
and yes, it is clever.
No.
Autumn is right. Keep it going.
No,
I
wordplay-
actually am laughing out loud, and I bet I'm not alone.
Oh,
with a
people do
milk
not-
That was
emoji.
not for you and Tim. That was for me and Eric.
Wordplay is not something that people laugh out loud to. You kind of say, oh, that's clever. You don't laugh the way that you really, really laugh.
We don't want the jewelry rattlers?
No. I don't want you referring to wordplay from the past. Wordplay is clever, but clever doesn't make you laugh your butt
Eric,
off.
you're exactly wrong. Your brain's scrambled.
You're exactly fired. Hour 3 of the Von Haessler Doctrine begins right now. Hey, Trae Young had a double-double.
Yeah.
In the All-Star game, had a great three-pointer from half court. I think he was even on the other side. I don't think he had actually stepped into the basket end of the court.
Eluding Lowry. Gobert with the rebound.
That's his range.
Young from center court. Yes! Trae Young.
I'm talking he was on the line, over the line.
Should be a 4-point play.
Should be. One day that will be a 4-point play. It won't be long now. That'll be a 4-point play. But congrats. They lost to Team LeBron. He was on Team Giannis. And they lost by 2 points in the All-Star game. It was like 9,000 to 8,998.
LeBron said he liked it, though. He said he liked the format change.
Oh, you got a little LeBron, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect because it was a new format, new year. We didn't know. None of us knew what to expect. But throughout the whole fourth quarter and at the end of the game, everybody was like, that was pretty damn fun.
Trae didn't play much because he was young. I think when you're there for the first time. And he didn't get in the fourth quarter. Because if he would have gotten into the fourth quarter, I think Team Giannis would have won. Well, that's how much I know Trae Young. And it is Team Giannis to my goofy friends who say Giannis. It's not Giannis. It's Team Giannis. You want to do a few more pieces of mail here before we get on to...
A few more open mics and then one lengthy email for
lengthy.
You, really directed at you.
Should we
Tim.
bring in like the Civil War documentary music before you start reading it?
We probably should.
Just Dearest Bess.
But first...
My love knows no bounds.
It tickled me when you read that long letter.
But here are the open mics first.
She's a Civil War music lady. We pay her.
That guy banging on that lady's airline seat is a hero to all of us that get scrunched by the moron in front of you that reclines their seat.
I get the idea. What I'm saying is, how is it that you don't blame the airline because they put the seats in? If a seat can do something, then it makes sense to believe as a customer you're allowed to do that thing with the seat. Now, if you get on a seat and it won't recline, and you pull out, tools and start changing the seat so it will recline, well, that would be on you. But why should you know that you're not supposed to take advantage of something a seat can do? It's up to the airlines. They're the ones who are now bunching us in now like cattle. So if they've got too many people and too small a space, then they need to change the chairs.
Well, and their trick now is what they do with the seats is they actually have lifted them up a little bit. So that way, when you walk onto the plane, it looks like they're bigger.
Hey, you know what's a weird thing with me?
What?
I just suck it up. You know what? Yeah, I'm the craziest kind of American left. I can actually know I'm kind of in the right and just be uncomfortable for 3 hours. And get off the plane and move on with my life, and within 10 or 15 minutes, the thought never, ever bothers me again. There's something new in America where I have the right to have the ultimate meanness around me the whole time. It's all about me, and I got to take this show on the road. And all the comforts that are me in my living room at the most ideal, those must follow me everywhere I go. And I think I have a constitutional right for it. So I'm going to complain. Sometimes you're technically in the right, but what the hell? Why cause trouble? Is there something wrong with that? Am I weak because sometimes I just give in and go, well, this flight's going to suck for 3 hours, but almost all of my life will not be within those 3 hours. So I'm going to give it the amount of attention rather than a thing and turn on the video, and now it's a week later and I'm on Fox and Friends talking about what the hell?
Well, just you can't just because your seat partner has halitosis.
Yes, right.
There's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, right.
Just get over it. You're stuck. You're in a tin tube flying in the air. You're getting somewhere. Light years faster than you would 70 years ago.
You would like that. A person reclining into your legs is much more comfortable than getting on a covered wagon.
Exactly.
Well, you have
trying to go
leg room there.
Trying to go from Atlanta. You do have more on the wagon train. There was more leg room. That is the one upside. But it took you 3 months to get on where you're going.
Worth it to me. I can get out and go to the bathroom. I could stop.
That's right. It was more of a relaxed, casual time for travel.
If I fall out, I'll live.
And then your seat partner died of halitosis. Yeah. So you.
Why is it absolutely like I'm going to litigate away the fact that I'll ever be uncomfortable for a few hours, or someone will say something that makes me slightly uncomfortable? I don't correct everybody. Sometimes people will joke about something. We all do this and not know that somebody else near us maybe has had something like that happen very close to them. You know what I mean? Like we all joke around, and maybe we'll just, I don't need examples, but we'll just be flippant maybe about an issue that's never affected us, but may have affected somebody else around us. Now, I've been in conversations where people are flippant about things that have impacted my life very deeply. But you know what? The person didn't mean it, and I don't have to school them on it. I can just go, they're being flippant because they don't know. On to the next thing. Why choose to take that personally? Why choose to humiliate that person publicly? Why choose to educate everyone around me when in fact you can go, that stung a little bit, but what's for dinner? Why are we all so attracted to grievance? Oh, the reclining seats. If reclining seats on airplanes is a real, I'm not even going to say the biggest issue. If it's a real big one for you, if that's a big issue for you, I hope you're thankful come Thanksgiving Day because you have a charmed life. If this is something that is just really a big deal for you. But of course, social media just blows. It's not real. Nobody, it's.
What team are you on?
Yeah, I'm on team. If the chair allows you to do it, it's okay to do it. But maybe the chairs. Maybe the chairs should be changed because the airlines are packing more of us. But to believe, it's like these, I think baseball's stupid with the unwritten rules. This would fall into unwritten rules. The chair does allow you to recline. There's no rule against it. But unbeknownst to you, all of society, including everyone else on this flight, has decided that it's wrong to recline the chair. I don't recline the chair because I'm aware of what people think. But to hold people responsible for it is absurd. If the chair can recline, what is wrong with people believing it's okay to do that?
But you're like me. You don't want to hear the behind you the entire flight.
Again, and unlike almost every other American in 2020, it's okay for me to be slightly uncomfortable for a few hours.
You'll get over it.
I get over it very quickly. By the time I'm in the Uber, I would never think of it again. rather than, I got it on the phone and I'm going to get it up there and I'm going to get a lot of likes and people are going to be wow.
Go viral.
Wow. You're famous because you had a grievance. That's what most fame is about now. People you never heard of who log a grievance with society. It's absurd. Yes.
All right, this next lady has had enough with our thruple talk today. We've talked about in the first hour, the second hour, and now in the third hour.
What we should really call them rather than thruples.
Why are we reinventing the wheel? It's a trio. Trio.
Yeah, trio's okay.
Okay.
Although it reminds me of that failure of a smartphone before the iPhone came along. Wasn't something called the Trio? What was remember that? You opened it up. It was like a Star Trek kind of thing.
Yeah, it was like the communicator.
It had a little pencil thing. A little pen.
Oh yeah.
What do you officially call these
Stylus.
things? Stylus. Yeah. Now they're called pencils by Apple. And whatever Apple calls things,
Pencil.
That's not a pencil. Does it have lead in it?
No, it does not. Bernie Sanders.
It's not
doesn't
a
have
pencil.
lead.
It's not a pen. Like almond milk. It's not milk.
Should I open this up?
I actually have
more.
I have the lengthy
email.
email.
Is this the long email?
Are you ready?
Oh, boy.
You know, Atlanta United season starts up on February 29th.
That's soccer.
That's right. So
Major League Soccer.
They're opening up. They're going on the road against Nashville. Nashville's getting their brand new team, so it's going to be a new rivalry.
The Nashville Country Music Killers.
They may as well be.
You're supposed to brag about what you're doing in your city, right? Nashville currently is killing the legacy of country music.
This gentleman,
right,
William.
Old style country. Now get.
This gentleman, William, writes, "Good morning, Eric, Doctrinaires, and Alan."
Oh, look at
Hey,
that. Alan
wow.
Hunt is included, ladies and gentlemen.
I hope this email finds you well. I am a 35-year-old American.
This guy's very, very courteous.
Yeah, that's why we need the music.
Bodacious greetings.
I am a 35-year-old American who has recently, within the last 5 years, discovered the joys of soccer. I find it curious that Eric and Tim seem to be so hesitant to allow themselves to experience the joy of the beautiful game brings.
I find it curious that the Doctrinaires don't find soccer entertaining.
He ignored it for the first 30 years of his life, but he just cannot understand at all how somebody else.
To my surprise, from babe to grave, they shall never enjoy the British football, American soccer.
I think the primary reason for this has to be with a lack of understanding on their behalf.
It's a lack of understanding of the game.
And as someone,
are you allowed to pick up the ball and run down the field?
You are not allowed.
Well, this gentleman is correct. I lack sufficient understanding of the game.
There's more to this. He'll have bullet points and all the reasons why you would love the
I have provided a list and an explanation of my thoughts.
Are you allowed to kick field goals?
You are not allowed to kick field goals.
I don't get it. So this guy who sent the mailbag mail.
Yeah, he emailed us at Haessler, Doctrine at WSBradio.com.
And he wants Tim and I to take professional soccer, more seriously.
Yeah, you guys are always making fun of it.
I guess just saying seriously, there's no more. He wants us to take it seriously. And what were you reading there toward the end? He said he wants us to go, but not bring you.
Yeah, after the list of bullet points, he says, Eric and Tim, go to an Atlanta United match this season. Don't go with Jared. He's a good kid, but he has a soft mind and is still living in extended adolescence.
He tosses in a little bit of a little slur, anti-Asian slur.
Oh yeah, we left that out, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking as this is one of those things where from the left, you know how Roger Waters is always complaining about. I mean, he's Mr. Lefty, right? Mm-hmm. And he's coming to town, and my wife wants to go, and I'm like,
Mr. Lefty's coming to town.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I love Roger Waters. I've seen him a million times, and there's a whole double standard with capitalism where he just looks like a moron, if you ask me. But I just go, it's a great show. But this time, in the middle of a campaign with Trump, there could be like a giant inflatable Trump head floating around the whole time. You don't know.
That balloon from England?
Yeah, that could be there. But Roger Waters, I'm reminded when I went back and listened to the pros and cons of hitchhiking. Little anti-Asian slurs on that album. It was a different time. And I think a lot of these rock stars, they cover themselves up with all their activism so you don't notice the past. Like all the cultural appropriation, which I don't believe in. But that if you're a cultural appropriation person, boy, would David Byrne be in trouble right now. So he goes overboard with the other stuff. Like, hey, look at me. Hey, me 2, me 7, me 9. Because he knows if they ever go in there, Yeah, start looking at Nigerian pop from the late 60s and start looking at what happened there. I feel like they go over, they just want, on the left, we're just great people. But you look in there, Roger Waters got the song Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking. You remember that song?
Oh, yeah.
He's brutal to Yoko Ono in that song. Brutal.
Yeah, why? What did she do?
Well, I guess he just didn't like her. But he refers to her as the B word.
Oh.
And the says something mystical. And then you hear her, you know how Roger Waters is, they're like movies?
Yeah.
You're listening like movies. And so there's a lot of characters and voices like on the wall. So you hear this, says the B word said something mystical. And then you hear a lady go, hello. Can you believe that? Now, these days, if you did something like that, can you imagine that being on the radio? The B word said something mystical, hello. So I step back on the street again, or step back on the curb again. Wow! I like the song, but it made me think that someone on the right, if they found stuff like that, it would, you wouldn't be able to host the Oscars. Isn't that something that Roger Waters is hosting the Oscars this year, and somebody would find that and put it out there and cancel him? So now they go, as these aging lefties, they go overboard the other way to prove, hey, I know that I wasn't exactly perfect, but hey, Should I open this up here?
Sure.
Let's open it up.
Even more headlines for Monday, February 17th.
I'm just saying, there it is. You go look at it right in the middle of the Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking. It was released as a single. I'm not trying to get Roger Waters in trouble. I'm just saying he gets a pass because he's anti-capitalist. With his 90-city tour with 818 wheelers moving 17 stages around.
He pays his carbon offset tax.
Oh, does he? Yeah. Like you hear about Delta now? They're going to try to become the first carbon neutral.
Can invest $1 billion.
What is it, a glider?
It's such baloney. It's exactly what they're doing what has to be done, which is lip service. Yep. There's no such thing as an airline being carbon neutral. How many trees you going to plant? How many?
I believe they can do it.
Oh, Greta Thunberg. You believe in it, huh?
They're bringing me on as a consultant.
How dare you?
This is really all that matters, because I noticed in the Delta thing, they also talk about their, you talk about the stakeholders, a total phony baloney made-up term that has nothing to do with economics. But it sounds a little bit like shareholder, except that it's people who have they have not put any money into the company. The stakeholder is just somebody who lives in the United States of America. And what Delta understands right now is you just want to be ahead of this thing when it comes to PR, public relations. Hey, we're going to be the first carbon neutral airline. Good luck. One problem. It's not possible. But that's not really the point. I mean, all of this stuff about, what are they called, carbon offsets?
Yeah.
It's the Catholic Church. Do they still have indulgences? They used to have indulgences.
No, they haven't for a long time.
You used
but
to be
that's
able
what
to
that
pay.
is. Yep.
Basically, if you were a rich sinner, you could pay for indulgences and have your slate wiped clean before you met St. Peter at the pearly gates. Carbon offsets. All of you people who have paid for carbon offsets, have you followed the money once to find out what tree was planted where?
Oh, no. Definitely not.
It's about making you feel better. This is for Delta, about making their customers feel better. There's no such thing, and there never will be any such thing, as a carbon-neutral major airline. It's absurd. This is a weird story about a Nigerian, is it a Twitter account?
Yeah.
In favor of Mayor Pete.
Yes.
And there was some sort of expose that said, hey, this isn't a real Twitter account, because it's like a sock puppet theater thing or something. I'm reading about this. So Nigerian account in favor of Mayor Pete, and it's done through puppets, I guess.
Yeah, well, one of the things that made people think it was fake and that it was his campaign manager.
Yeah.
And I can't think of her name right now. But
Liz Smith.
Liz Smith. You know, she used to date Elliot Spitzer. Anyway.
I didn't know that.
Broke up his marriage. Anyway.
Really?
The hooker didn't, but she did. Anyway.
You're talking about the former governor of New York.
That's right.
Who had to resign when it was found out he was hanging out with hookers a lot.
Yes. Client number 9 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so this account that was created, this Nigerian fellow who likes Mayor Pete, one of the first people he followed was Liz Smith.
Okay, so people...
And then he followed Pete's campaign Twitter.
And it was a big old expose, and then the Bernie bros started going after him.
Piling on, doxing
I don't know
the
why.
fella.
Am I supposed to shiver when I hear Bernie bros? There's just something about Bernie's personality.
Shakes me to my core.
I mean, even if Bernie has brown shirts, I don't think of them as just all that.
They're not iron.
I don't see them as all that powerful or anything to be afraid of. But Bernie bros went after. I guess they get nasty online.
Yeah, and the guy had to
That's
close
why I'm
his
not on
account.
social media. It doesn't matter how nasty people get with me online. I never see it.
No.
But the Bernie bros upset people online. They went after thinking that it was a fake account. And then there's the guy from Nigeria going, no, it's
just me. I like Pete.
Mayor Pete.
Yeah.
But he's in Nigeria. He's not an American citizen. I guess you can weigh in.
Well, I want everyone around the world to know. Mayor Pete supports Nigeria.
That's right. So it's a big old expose, and now people are coming and saying, no, it's just this guy in Nigeria who really into Mayor Pete. And he's got puppets.
Well,
hand puppets?
He does. Yeah, let me do a puppet show. No, there's a whole... But really,
Is
there's...
that big in Nigeria online, puppet shows? Is that
Sock
big?
puppet shows?
Yeah. Is that a big thing? It's a way of
Got a lot
communicating.
going on, you know.
Maybe it's a way, I don't know how their government is right now, but maybe it's a way to skirt the government. Maybe you can be a little more critical if it's a sock puppet. It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
I don't like our dictator.
Hey, don't say that, Grumpy.
That's okay. We're run by China anyway.
All right, let's do this.
It's the stories we just couldn't miss. It's the Doctrine Extra.
All right, we got stories, we got audio, we got lots of things. Where do we start?
All right, there's a bazillion stories about Mike Bloomberg.
Oh, yeah,
So
Bloomberg. Apparently he's one good showing and one more poll away from being allowed to be in this debate, which I think is
Wednesday
this
night?
week. Wednesday. Is it an MSNBC debate?
You know, I'm not sure what
I think it is. I think it is, which means if the billionaire joins the MSNBC debate, it's going to be all about, it'll be questions like this. This is not a debate. It's a collective interview, but no debate question. Mr. Bloomberg, do you believe that billionaires should be able to buy the Oval Office? But I wonder what he's going to say.
Well, I wouldn't call it that. Blah, blah. I'm Mike Blum. I'm Mike Blum.
But there was an interesting report that came out last night saying that, according to Matt Drudge, who runs the Drudge Report, that Bloomberg is considering Hillary Clinton as a vice presidential running mate, which I think is a stretch. But
no, he's doing this very smart. He's not going to actually ask her to be his running mate if he gets the nomination, but he's being very the way Bloomberg sees it. Right, nobody's taking Mayor Pete seriously. They think he's just not going to last through the Super Tuesday in the South and all that. Bloomberg believes right now it's going to be him versus Bernie Sanders, and he believes. Let me tell you the story again.
According to Matt Drudge, Bloomberg is considering Hillary Clinton.
Bloomberg. Who do the Bernie people hate? Hillary Clinton. Who do the Hillary Clinton people hate? Bernie Sanders. So right now, all of the people in the middle who maybe Warren's got a lot of women who like Bernie's ideas but don't like the way that he dealt with Hillary. So Bloomberg will not go all the way through with this, will not ask her to be his vice president, but probably a smart move right now as he believes it's going to come down to Bernie Sanders or Bloomberg to peel off all the Hillary people that, by the way, I know some people listening to the station don't understand this. They are Democrats. This is a Democrat primary. She still has a base over there. So he's probably being rather smart about it. I don't think he's going to go through with it, though, because you don't put the person who is the nominee last as the VP. It just
she wouldn't do it anyway.
She might.
I'm pretty bored.
Yeah, she likes power. Hillary Clinton likes power, and powerful people can be humiliated. Okay, I'll take the vice presidency over the presidency. Not for nothing. He's 80.
I'll resign immediately after I am.
Is he 80? How is he? 76?
He's 78 years old.
78 years old. You never know. Isn't she like 10 years younger than him?
She's a spring chicken.
She'll take any bite at the apple of power. So she probably thinks it's for real. I think it's a good strategy as people are starting to think of who is my second choice.
But the other thing that's going on with Bloomberg, too, is this stop and frisk stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't stopped.
Him apologizing for everything. By the way, stop and frisk, my understanding is it worked in New York City. Now, I didn't live in New York City, and I'm not an expert on it. But it's either a coincidence that during the Bloomberg mayorship, crime was at an all-time low, or the way the police department was going about their business had something to do with that. just because it worked doesn't mean you can't be against it. But I think it's interesting that in this conversation, whether or not it worked doesn't seem to matter. And if it did work, the people it worked for most of the time, probably minorities. I think that he's getting in trouble because they weren't doing this in, white, upper middle class neighborhoods, right? The people who were protected were people in neighborhoods that had young people who were walking around with guns all the time. That was the whole thing with stop and frisk. How do we get people to stop carrying guns around? Well, if they think that the cops can stop them and frisk them at any time, and it did happen, you had less guns that were around. So whether or not it worked, we're not really going to get into. We're just going to get into how it is as an issue. And so he's been apologizing for it. You can do 4, have him apologizing.
I led the most diverse city in the nation, and I apologized for the practice and the pain that it caused.
We're going to go to 7 and 8 here. What I'm saying is that the problem for Bloomberg isn't stop and frisk or these policies that probably worked in New York City. He does have a problem with being an elitist. He's very cavalier when speaking about minority groups. Someone who did this correctly in order to get elected, Bill Clinton in 92. Bill Clinton could identify what the average gang member was, but he was very quick as a good politician to talk about what's going on in their lives. Why are they in gangs? Why are we in this situation? Whereas if you listen here, I think the number 7, he's basically saying you could just do a carbon copy of who most of the criminals are and hand them out to police chiefs all around the country. It's the cavalier attitude. He may not be wrong about the numbers.
95% of your murderers and murder victims fit one MO. You can just take the description, Xerox it, and pass it out to all the cops. They are male minorities, 15 to 25. That's true in New York. It's true in virtually every city.
You're saying most of the male minorities between 15 and 25 years of age. He's probably right about the number, but it's the way that he talks about people. It's the cavalier attitude. Just carbon copy it off, give it to any chief of police, tell him to go at it. Whereas a good politician identifies the problem, but then talks about all of the people involved. And he hasn't developed that. Well, he hasn't developed anything yet because he's just spent a bunch of money on ads at this point.
Nobody tweaks your funny bone like these guys. Eric Von Haessler, weekday mornings at 9, and Mark Aram, weekday evenings at 6 on 95.5 WSB.
I'll give you a daisy a day, dear. I'll give you a daisy a day. I'll love you until the rivers run still and the 4 winds we know blow away.
I didn't know this had lyrics.
No, it's not this. I had Judd Strunk on the mind. Now, we guys don't have one of big Judd Strunk fans here? Oh, Daisy a Day. Fantastic. I had the single back in 1974, I believe.
I thought you were just singing to me.
Hey, the guy had seen his father, and his mother had a great love affair, and then the mother died, and he's singing about his father, who every single day takes a daisy and lays it on the grave of them until the 4 winds we know blow away. We have a little... See what I'm saying?
It's so nice.
It was beautiful. All right, we got... before we're done with the Mike Bloomberg thing, a little bit of audio here that we want to get through before we're done at noon, and then go off to do the podcast 30. So I was talking about Mike Bloomberg. His problem with stop and frisk is not so much the policy itself, which kind of worked in New York City. I think it was found to be... I think the Supreme Court found it to be illegal. But it needed to be tweaked, that's for sure. I think his problem is the way that he's cavalier about it, the way he speaks about minority groups. You can tell this is a guy who's had $70 billion for quite some time. Not so much the policy itself. This is another flashback to when he's talking about, you want to get kids to get rid of their guns? You throw them against the wall.
The way you get the guns out of kids' hands is to throw them against the wall and frisk them.
Throw them against the wall and frisk them. I don't really think it's the policies that he's going to have so much trouble with. If he wants to become a better politician, sooner or later he's going to have to come out of hiding and actually start speaking to people. And he can learn from Bill Clinton's 92, I feel your pain kind of thing.
I feel your pain.
Clinton was very good at making people on the right feel like he understood the gang violence in the inner city back then, but he was also very good about talking about gang members as human beings and how did they get to this place and how does society, and that's a May not be something anybody listen. You may not agree with that, but if you're running as a Democrat, it's part of what you need to be talking about. So if he gets that right, he'll get past that. Now Trump is trying to jump on and talk about how I think he said, "Wow, this guy's really racist." When listening to the Bloomberg. Is number 10 the one where Trump says he needs to stop it? It's a disgrace?
I think so.
You couldn't go to your house. They were stopping you every day. What Bloomberg did to the black community was a disgrace.
See, now, here's the problem. All you have to do is go back to, I believe, when he was debating Hillary Clinton in one of those debates. So this isn't 2002. This isn't 1999 when he was a Democrat. This is 2016 when he's running and in a debate against Hillary Clinton, who I guess had said something about stop and frisk, and Trump stepped up and like, whoa, no, wait a minute. Stop and frisk was a very important program.
It was continued on by Mayor Bloomberg, and it was terminated by current mayor. But stop and frisk had a tremendous impact on the safety of New York City, tremendous beyond belief. So when you say it has no impact, it really did. It had a very, very big impact.
And so now he's saying number 10.
You couldn't go to your house. They were stopping you every day. What Bloomberg did to the black community was a disgrace.
He may not have started out as a politician, but as we roll toward November, Trump is learning how to be a politician. Doesn't matter what you said before, it's what you're saying now, and does it get votes? All right, what else?
Now the audio of the day here. Justin Bieber.
Yes.
He was speaking to...
wait, before you get to Bieber, I do want one more political thing.
Okay.
There are people on the Democrat side, and this, I guess, is the Bernie bros are getting crazy about. James Carville, I think Chris Matthews said something about how socialism doesn't work. And then James Carville, who the kids don't know who he is, but he was the campaign manager for Bill Clinton in the early 90s.
He didn't make popcorn or whatever.
Excuse me?
He didn't make popcorn or something.
No, that's not. No, Carville would be ice cream cakes, I believe. But,
Orville, Redden.
You're conflating.
Baker,
you're conflating popcorn and ice cream cakes.
Oh, my bad.
It happens a lot. A lot of people do that.
Okay, bye.
Popcorn, ice cream cake conflation is a known thing. So, but you sound cute. So you're up. She's very hot, but she has gas. I don't know what to do. So James Carville says the Sanders wing and the AOC wing are like a cult. He doesn't want to be in a cult.
There's a certain part of the Democratic Party that wants us to be a cult. I'm not interested in being in a cult.
So you got a lot of Democrats who are worried about flying the socialism banner in the general election. They're another thing millennials don't know about because anything that happened before they were born doesn't matter. But there was a guy named McGovern who got swept. He only won one state, and D.C., I think. He lost to a guy who had to resign just a couple of years later.
Wasn't my fault.
It is possible to go too far left. Oh, we weren't able to get to the Justin Bieber stuff.
Well, luckily we have the podcast 30, Eric.
We certainly do. We're leaving the airwaves for this Monday, but we're not completely done. We're going to go do the podcast 30. If you'd like to join us over there, go to the Von Haessler Doctrine Facebook page or the WSB Radio Facebook page. Click on the red box. Voila! You're watching us do the podcast 30. For the no, Alan, I do not want all Bieber music tomorrow. As a matter of fact, I want no. It's Bieberless Tuesday.
New album's getting good reviews.
Is it?
Yeah.
Great.
I'll never know whether those reviews are correct or not. Thanks for listening to the Von Haessler Doctrine podcast. Remember, you can hear the show every weekday from 9 to noon right here on 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Hi, friends. It's Jared Yamamoto from the Power Pod. Season 2, Episode 7 is out on all of your favorite podcast providers.
Hey, guys. It's Nicole, and be ready for Episode 8, where we'll talk about Sonic the Hedgehog's surprising weekend, the latest Bachelor controversy, the Nevada Democratic debate, and so much more on this week's episode.
Remember, new episodes drop every Thursday, and starting on February 29th, we'll be live on WGAU Athens.
Woohoo! Power up with the Power Pod.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
All right.
Be hitting different.
That digital vomit lets you know that the podcast 30 begins right now. Tim Andrews is here. J-Rad rocking the tunes, so-called. Autumn Fisher is here. And look at this. A ray of sunshine. Greg Russ joins us from Studio B1. I didn't expect this. It's like that extra gift in Christmas Story. Look behind the desk over there. It's Greg Russ. It's all I ever wanted for Christmas.
I'll shoot your eye out.
You'll shoot my eye out. Welcome to the podcast 30. We didn't get to the Justin Bieber stuff, which
save that for tomorrow.
Hold a hey. Do you have
Hoda.
You have
Hoda? I do not care about Justin Bieber's life.
That's what I was trying to say.
I see these stories circulating. I couldn't be faithful to my wife. I don't care.
Yeah.
I do not care.
Well, I don't know that is he not faithful to his wife?
He said at first he couldn't be. Yeah. He had trouble with it. But he's grown and he's come around. He's all about self-growth and improvement.
What if he sleeps in a hyperbaric chamber?
No, it doesn't surprise me. He's
really?
He's Michael Jackson, but not quite that far gone.
You're gonna need some more surgery.
No, this Justin Bieber was completely screwed up by being so famous, so young. It seems like it would be the greatest thing in the world to be 15 years old and have girls tossing themselves at you. As I recall being 15, I can't imagine anything being greater than that as a 15-year-old, of what I would think of what I wanted my life to be. Mm-hmm. But I do believe, I agree with you, Greg. I'm not interested. But he's on the big stage, and I do think that we're looking at some level. It's not Antonio Brown level crazy, but I do think that there's real mental issues going on here with this Justin Bieber. He starts crying a lot when he's talking.
He was exploited. When you're a kid, if you're a kid and you're given that choice, sure, you're going to say, like you said, give me all that stuff.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of people who said, now, we're not going to do this now. This can happen later. There were a lot of adults in his life who said, all right, I see the dollar signs. Let's throw you out there.
His dad was a bro.
Listen, his dad was a bro. Listen, I understand that. But you can't just hold things off. His moment came, and in pop, you either take that moment or you don't. You can't say, this kid's talented. He'll reemerge when he's 21. It was a perfect storm with this Justin Bieber, with the YouTube videos, and then who was the local
Bert?
No, R&B guy with the Drake.
Usher.
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 Not Drake. Drake's Canadian. Usher saw the videos, kind of brought him out. You have to go with that moment, Greg. You can't just hang back and go, this kid's talented. He'll do all right when he's 21.
That's true, but it's a screwed up situation then.
Sure.
But then as the parents of that kid, you have to do your due diligence to rein in whatever may happen to them as adults because of their early success.
What's interesting, and hello, English Nick. What's interesting is that I think that's why I wanted to bring this up, because I think when it comes to adults in the room, that's part of this story. So he started crying when he was asked about Billie Eilish, and he starts talking about how he wants to protect her and all of this stuff.
Yeah, he was on Beat One's YouTube
Now, I don't know a whole lot about Billie Eilish, but my sense is that she does have two caring parents in her life.
And a brother who's very responsible.
A brother who's responsible, right. So
who she probably hates right now because whatever reason, whatever they're doing to hinder her in her mind or restrictions they're putting in place. She probably hates her parents, but one day.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
one day, it's better than the bro dad, Justin Bieber's bro dad, who wanted his son to be famous so he could get the excess. Oh, these girls, my son's too busy for these girls. Come over here.
And I think Billie Eilish's parents have been sort of like
supportive.
No, but I mean they're not famous, famous actors.
Right.
They've been in the Hollywood system for a while. They're not famous.
And the kids do it in their bedroom, so they're not getting abused in a studio somewhere.
I don't think they're all that wealthy, or weren't before her big thing. They just had careers in the studio system. And so they've probably seen things happen to kids who get too famous. So I think that what his concern is, probably when it comes to Billie Eilish, is a little less necessary, because I think she was kind of raised with Justin Bieber. His parents are broken up, right? He lived with the mom, right?
Correct.
I believe
I
so.
sometimes confuse his story with Eminem's, I have to admit.
He lived with his mom. His mom was good.
Yeah.
We interviewed her one time, remember?
They're big-time Christians and everything.
Yeah.
Dad's a bro, but it was a broken family, and mom probably was a little overwhelmed when everything came. And I don't think you're going to say, no, you can't be this famous kid. So after all of that, I do want to hear, because I will tell you this. I think that this Justin Bieber, I think he's dealing with some kind of weird issues. Because again, like Greg said, people just get married, but this guy got married in such a way with all these explanation videos and one of these things.
They were constantly on paparazzi.
And on the record talking about your growth. If you're talking about your growth as a human being, you're probably not experiencing much growth.
Because he still loves Selena Gomez, that's why.
Is that when it's still?
Yeah, he still loves Selena.
Not according to that last single.
All right, so this was him. Well, I don't know who was interviewing him.
This is Beat One. It's a YouTube channel that interviews celebrities. It's kind of like
BBC. Because Beat One is there.
As in Beats, you mean? Yeah,
Beats One.
Excuse
me.
Beats headphones.
I think that's an Apple BBC thing, isn't it?
Well,
no,
Beats
it's
headphones.
Apple,
Dr.
it's
Dre's.
Apple, but what they use is the BBC people on their. When you go to Apple Music, they actually have a stream that
people
runs.
of the BBC.
Collab.
Yeah, it's a collab. That's exactly what it is.
My favorite kind of dog.
You go out there and tell the kids your age that we're using terms like collab. Build my
like
audience with
mongrels.
the youngsters.
You guys should
the
listen
mongrels.
to this hit podcast.
Yeah.
You know, let her do her thing, and if she ever needs me, I'm going to be here for her. But yeah, just protecting those moments because people take for granted encounters and yeah. So yeah, I just want to protect her. You know, I don't want her to lose it. I don't want her to, you know, go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. So yeah, if she ever needs me, I'm just a call away.
That's his own trauma that's bringing this up.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, though, I don't even know that it was all that horrible, right? He did some things. He drove fast through a neighborhood. He messed up But you know what? It's stuff that people do when they're 15 or 16 years old. He was just 15 or 16 years old in the public eye.
Well,
and so he acted like a fool. Who didn't act like a fool when they're 15 or 16 years old?
Is that the real problem? That's him acting out like anyone else acted out.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be difficult for you to realize that nobody actually loves you. They love what you are. Everyone in his life, nobody actually probably.
No, the people that should love him weren't loving him, right? Yeah.
I think that there's a realization like no one really likes me. They just like everything I represent and what I am.
Because it's difficult for him to show who he really is because his persona and his name have grown bigger than him.
Yeah,
so
and
when
he was
you meet
also
him,
finding.
You can't look past all that.
But I think also when you're 15 and you're world famous, you don't know who you are yet. So I don't know.
So maybe you haven't ever had a
sort of
chance to
struggling.
figure it out.
Yeah.
Does she think he's an old man?
Probably. I don't know.
I mean, how old is she?
She's 17,
18.
17 or
Yeah,
18.
he's old. He's old to her.
What is he, 29 something? What is he?
What does he think? He's the Jon Snow of top 40 musicians. I'm going to take care of everybody.
He's been around for a long time now.
He's 25 years old.
Is that all?
He's only 25.
Only 25.
God.
Yeah,
so how old was he when he broke? Like 13 or 14?
Yeah, he was
14 or 15. Yeah.
Born in 1994. That's crazy.
Even you look at that as a kid.
I do.
Eric, when you came to Atlanta and started, he was 4.
Well, he's really aged too. Not well. As I look at it, I've done very well.
You do have to wonder.
I look at him and see that he has certainly aged.
I mean, he's about to do a big tour. He's playing Mercedes-Benz, right?
Yeah.
So there's some longevity there for a pop artist. You have to wonder about her career. I mean, here she is. She's peaking. For me, in my
Billie Eilish?
With this,
Well, we don't know.
No, we don't know. With this bomb theme, that's a massive thing.
Yeah.
Right? Where do you go from there? Do you put out, is the next album going to be as good as
I
the
think the
first
big
one?
question, and we don't get into music for a half hour because people get angry, but I think the big question for her is...
this is about psychology,
Do they...
Eric.
Do
This is
they
about psychology.
That's true.
Yes.
Music psychology.
Yes.
The question is, do she and her brother go in the bedroom and make another album like that, or do they go in and pay $10,000 a day for the greatest
I'm
producers?
sure somebody will.
And the
And they can-
whatevers.
they can create it.
And one of two things will happen. She'll jump to that level and do very well,
Yeah.
or it will just won't work.
Yeah.
It's only a few people that can continue to record. But the thing is, these days, you don't have to be as good as the old days. Back in the old days, we expected full albums. These days, if you can just keep
Drop a single
you
now and
drop
again.
a single,
EP.
feature somebody, and you could stay in the limelight. We used to judge bands based on their ability to do albums. Like, there were 3 or 4 good songs on there. Now, if you have 3 or 4 good
Also-
songs,
Also, bands like Zeppelin used to fight the label saying, no, we're not going to release singles because that's not how it should be perceived. You need to hear the whole album. Duh.
So how do you feel about this, Billy? You going to do all right in your next one or what?
I'm going to be fine.
Yeah.
If I don't do well in the charts, I'm going to make a lullaby album for kids.
See, she's probably already made more money
Twinkle,
than anybody in this room.
twinkle,
This is her own take on Twinkle Little Star. It's just the same. You're just singing.
I want you to
slower.
transition though into the alphabet song. That would really blow people. A mashup of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and the alphabet song.
Yeah, you got to pick it up right where you would be normally.
Remember when mashups were all the rage? There was this,
yeah. That lasted
mashups
for
in early 2000s. People loved it.
You're like her Phineas, Greg. That's what you are. You're like your brother. You really are with these ideas coming out. Phineas and Billie Eilish.
H-I-J-K, wonder where you are. Is that correct?
I don't know if that's right.
Hey, you like Judge Strunk?
W-X.
Billie Eilish likes the Judge Strunk like I do. Daisy a day, right?
What?
Give you a daisy a day, dear. Give you a daisy a day.
I'll tie a yellow ribbon.
No, it's not. That's a different kind of tying.
Oh, man.
Same era. Same era.
What a handsome fellow this Judd Strunk was.
He was like a novelty song guy.
Jamestown, New York.
All right.
Give Billie 10 years. She'll be on Lifetime TV at night selling the hits. You know,
Surprisingly.
Billie Eilish sings the hits of the 80s.
Or how long before? If she's just a one-off, if it's just the one album, how long does it take her to get to Broadway like Alanis Morissette?
Billy, don't.
Well, it took Alanis Morissette, what,
20
years?
Yeah.
20, 25
Now she's about to
years?
tour again.
Surprisingly, Billie's only
Did
worth...
you hear? Hold on. Did you hear that? Well, she's on a rookie contract. Did you hear that the Alanis Morissette Broadway musical? Somebody one of the crowd members of the crowd pepper sprayed somebody else in the crowd. They had to stop the show.
What?
All the actors had to leave the stage. Everybody had to leave the theater.
Was it
And
during?
it was too late in the show to start it up again, so they had to redo it.
Was it a couple that was fighting during that
They
song?
think that maybe.
I want
Yeah.
you to know.
Actually, I think that guy showed up.
I'm
It was
really
that guy.
angry at you.
Dave Coulier?
Yeah, Dave Coulier. The guy from Full House showed up, and it was him and
Hey,
Alanis
cut
Morissette.
it out.
You know, Dave Grohl says that she is a rock star and she will last.
Well,
Billie Eilish?
Mm-hmm.
She
She's
might.
She's only worth $6 million, according
Wait a
to...
minute.
Only?
Wait a minute.
She
Nobody knew who
started.
the hell she was 2 years ago.
That's still surprising. I think she'd be worth more than that with how successful
She
she
hasn't
was
toured
just,
yet.
just this year. She's toured.
So what? He's seen her.
Yeah,
she's
she's going to be at Hangouts
Has
this
she
year,
done
too.
her own tour yet, or just done the summer
She's
jump on
been on the
stages?
festival tour,
Right,
primarily.
so she hasn't done her own tour yet.
I'm too busy.
They're jumping back
She's
just
too busy
quickly
sleeping.
to wrap this up. Apparently, the discharge of pepper spray was an accident.
Oh.
Someone's pepper spray just went off inside the theater.
So it's just New York City, and it's probably a woman who is walking.
Oh,
in
I
some
guarantee
area.
it was a tourist who came to New York and was scared and said,
Ah,
I got to bring the pepper spray with me. We're going to be in New York.
Sue the
Well,
pepper spray
you
company.
guys, you thought stop and frisk was working so well, you had to get rid of it. So now the tourists bring the pepper spray and interrupt an otherwise wonderful Broadway
fine.
show.
It's been fine since the stop and frisk ended, though de Blasio is an idiot. So I don't.
Everyone
That
finds
guy's been
a
drowning since
reason.
he was elected.
Yeah.
He got reelected, though, didn't he?
Nobody
because
runs against
we're
him.
running against him.
Nobody runs
Yeah,
against
Dave
him.
Grohl and his daughters loved Billie Eilish so much that they showed up at the taping of Ellen when she was on Ellen.
Well, that's the daughters.
Yeah, but Dave was there with her. with
I
the kid,
know,
yeah.
but he said, okay.
But he also
let me
said
jump on.
he said that what she's doing right now, he compares it to what Nirvana did in 1990.
I'm sure that
91,
makes his kids
by
feel
turning
great.
it all around, yeah.
I'm sure. Well, you don't want to take that too far. Yeah, you may not want to. You may not want to follow every example of Kurt Cobain.
So for sure, no one else
That's what she does.
dirty
She should do with Tori Amos. Tori Amos covered the song
Hello.
from Nirvana in the 90s.
I'm a cornflake girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a one album.
Yeah,
wonder.
Two. And then her first album.
No, the second one was terrible.
The first album she did, you never heard of. It's called Why Can't Tori Read, and it's spelled improperly.
yeah.
It's a dance record where she's like
Oh,
a
is
pop
it?
artist.
Oh, yeah?
yeah.
You bet your life.
I remember Little Earthquakes was a pretty good
That was a
album.
good record.
Yeah.
It was
Really
It
man-hating
was
on
Kate Bush light, but then the
There was
next
no
one.
Fugees.
Yeah.
I love that Fugees
The
album.
Cornflake Girl one was terrible.
cornflake
It was like, okay, you got nothing. Yeah, you
I
were
just
one
liked her
album.
writhing around on her piano.
Oh, so did I at the time.
Always legs akimbo, too. She always like
You
sit
touched on
side
it, though. She was kind of a Kate Bush light. It's like,
Yeah.
just give me
Oh,
Kate Bush.
Yeah. Well, Kate Bush won't tour America.
Kate went
so
crazy.
Why? Is she afraid to fly?
She's afraid to fly.
What happened to Lisa Loeb? I liked her.
Lisa Loeb.
she
I
was
was
reality
She does
TV.
She was married to
lullabies.
Zappa for a minute.
I met her once. She was very nice.
She has an album of lullabies that are real boring.
Well, lullabies are supposed to be boring. They put you to sleep. If
Oh,
they're
but I
effective,
mean, like, they're
if
not
they're
any
effective,
good.
they put you to sleep,
That's
right?
a good point.
I have the Metallica lullaby record.
Lullaby. Oh, these lullabies are so great. I'm going to stay up all night and listen to them. That's not,
Greg,
that's not a good lullaby.
Greg, was Lisa Loeb the start of you liking girls with bangs and glasses?
Maybe it was.
Yeah, I'm going to say maybe Lisa Loeb was the catalyst that sent you down this path.
I want to.
I only wear glasses because Greg likes glasses. I also got some bangs because he likes it so much, and I want to date him all day.
Who was the?
Those were the lyrics I heard.
Who was
Those are
the
lyrics I
other
still
lady
hear.
at the time? The one.
I'm not losing my
God's not one. If God's just.
Joan Osborne.
Osborne.
Yeah.
But let me say,
She had the nose ring.
Let me say it. There's that pop stuff. I've seen her with a band at Smithsonian Bar in the last
Yeah.
10 years.
And she was good.
I've seen her do the lounge thing where it's just her and a guy with a piano, and she's in like an evening dress.
Toured with the
At
Dead before
Variety.
Jerry died.
She is just her blues band stuff is amazing.
No, I imagine a lot of people. There are two types
I
of
liked her
one-hit
in Paul's
wonders.
Boutique.
There's
She did
there's
background stuff in Paul's Boutique.
there's the type of one-hit wonder who humiliate themselves by always trying to have another
Trying to
hit.
do it.
And then there's one-hit wonders who are just
just go
really,
back to work.
They're really good musicians, and they were so good that one of them was bound to bang out there, and then they're just solid for the rest of their career.
Yeah.
Or they're just ones.
Yes.
I was going to say they get this song that becomes a hit that's not reflective of who they
Exactly,
actually are
yeah.
as a musician
Yeah,
at all.
but I don't
And they
like-
can continue. Look, they make their money on that,
Yeah.
and they can continue on doing the
I
thing
don't
they
like the
want.
bands that complain about that, though.
Well, I don't know if it doesn't sound like Osborne was complaining.
I'm talking to you, Ambrosia.
What about Dishwalla? Remember that?
Oh, Captain Blue Cars. You know who I like who still tour is Jim Blossoms. They had a couple good songs.
Yeah.
Hey,
Jim Blossoms
Jealousy.
are great.
Well, they're a band that's a band who had a couple of hits.
Yeah.
So you can go look at those couple of hits. You can say, oh, they just had a couple of hits, but they've been loved.
Follow you
They've had
Allison Road.
a group of
Jared knows it.
diehard fans since they started, since before the hits and after, and they're just a band.
Sounds
Same
like
with
driving
Blue
Blue
Dolls.
What's that? What?
Ask your
I was gonna say,
Alexa
sounds
to
like-
play Gin Blossom Station, and you won't regret it.
Oh, I don't like when I put on the things with the stations and then they play other bands.
No, that's the point. Is
I
that
know.
point.
But
Turns you
I'm
on to
supposed to
stuff you may have
believe.
forgotten.
I'm supposed to believe that they would listen to this. I'm not quite
No,
getting
it's
it.
not
Or
that. It's
because
just
this is
other
a genre,
things.
I would like
Oh
this.
my god! Why are you
I
finding
tell you
a reason
what,
to
if
complain about it?
I ever do that with Metallica, you get 2 or 3 Metallica songs, some deep, some popular.
Yeah.
Then Godsmack comes on. I change the
Yeah.
channel. I
You know
can't listen to the Godsmack.
the driving and crying algorithm always throws U2 at people, and they don't know why. And it's a strange thing. It's because of Catholicism.
Mm-hmm.
You
That's-
two are
wow,
known
strange.
Catholics, and Kevin is known Catholic. It's kind of a
really?
weird thing, but the algorithm finds it as a
Oh,
keyword.
The Talking Head station is really good too.
I don't want any of those. The stations, curated stations, are fine. I just don't like Alexa. I don't have a smart TV. I'm not going to ever get any of those.
You're not talking to your
Really?
devices.
You're just going to live in a
No.
different time than the one you're living in. Why
Yes,
not?
I'm going to
What do you
continue.
think it's good? Are we going to learn the
Oh my!
secrets of Greg
he
Russ?
still flips his own light switch. Can you believe it?
Well, it's just not
Lame.
necessary.
No, that's what dogs are for. My dogs do that for
Yeah.
me.
Listen,
Zoe, turn on the lights.
no, I haven't gone that far yet because it just seems like too much.
I have
It
it.
seems like somebody could just take over your whole. If you could hack
Yeah.
my social media account, can't you just hack my house at some point?
And be turning your lights on all day.
Oh God! Oh no! The worst thing is happening. My lights are turning on.
No,
Wait.
you
I
tell
can't
me
get into my fridge.
you wouldn't like you wouldn't be mind the fact somebody hacked your house. What if you
Yes,
have
of
cameras?
course. But then you would just change your Wi-Fi password and it'd be done.
Oh, here's the other thing.
Not
If
before
I had
I
a
went
smart
viral.
fridge, it'd be nagging me constantly because I never have anything in it. So that's another reason
Yeah.
not to
Can I
upgrade.
have something else besides ketchup?
I do agree.
Greg, stop eating mayo from the jar. Stop eating mayo from the jar.
I do agree with Greg. I think some of those new smart fridges are a little silly because they have the screen on the outside where it shows you what's in the fridge.
Yeah, here's
are you
the-
that lazy where you can't open the fridge and
Well,
look in
Well,
there?
that's
first of all,
energy.
That's
Yeah.
energy.
Conservation.
By the way, that helps the
Yeah,
environment.
but
You
even
wouldn't
with
know
this-
about that.
Even with the smart screen, it's habit when we get
Can I
home just
tell
to
you-
open the
can I
fridge
tell
and
you,
look in there.
Am I the only one? I don't keep my refrigerator. Well, I should say we don't keep our refrigerator like you're watching an advertisement for a refrigerator on TV. So if you saw into my refrigerator,
Yeah,
you
it's
still wouldn't see
disgusting.
much.
No.
You just see a bunch of jars. I don't put this is the place for dairy, and this is the place for, I mean, the drawers help
drawers
out a little
for
bit.
veggies and
But
stuff, yeah.
veggies and
Tomatoes.
veggies and fruits sometimes end up in the same drawer. I don't know what's going on in there. I don't ask questions.
Hey, fruits and veggies.
I
can
just
do
have
what they want.
condiments.
Yeah, well, that's all
the
you'd see
dude
is like
thing
a
to
bunch
do.
of condiments. I said condiments.
Oh, I got some Chinese food that's a month
I
old.
love condiments.
My wife
Condoms
was
and mints.
so nice to me
Condom
this
is
time when she left. She's left town so she'll be back in town later
Left
in
you
the week.
stacked up.
But she made individual meals and then put them all in these different bowls and everything. So I'm actually eating well. She's been gone now 4 days, and I had actual vegetables.
She just knew.
Here you go, little boy.
Yeah.
I packed your lunches for you for the week.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
And
today,
you know
Eric,
what she says? She says she doesn't have to wake up early in the morning and go to work.
apparently it wasn't enough this morning, though. You were eating breakfast in the studio this morning.
No, I did my oatmeal. I woke up late. I usually have my oatmeal at 4:30 in the morning. And I didn't wake up until 5:30 this morning, so I just grabbed the oatmeal in the bowl.
Late.
But you know what? I like sleeping in. This might be a new thing for me.
Yeah.
You might start getting less audio early in the morning from me, Jared.
Well, that'll be great. Thanks.
I like the idea. But I like also getting those stories, getting the late stories. So I have to figure it out. But it was nice.
The overnight news.
It was nice to sleep another hour and a half this morning.
Well, what
I
time
must
were you getting up when the show started at 6?
The regular guys show?
Yeah.
Same time. But there was a time when I was waking up at 2:45. I
can't believe that.
I would go to bed at 7 and wake up at 2:45.
Wow.
I just love having time to putter around. But now it's starting to be less and it's kind of like that show you keep watching, and then you realize maybe like after,
Homeland.
Like, you know what?
It's coming back, by the way.
Am I watching
Final
this
season.
am I watching this out of habit at this point, or
You
do I
are.
really still like it? And I'm wondering with this waking up 2 hours before I leave thing, is that just a habit? Can I live life actually sleeping till 5:30 or 5:45?
I remember driving home at the end of my night and thinking, Eric's waking up right now to go to work.
Yeah. Well, somebody's got to do what it takes to entertain and inform the Metro Atlanta area, which I've been doing since, with some breaks in between, since 1998.
Nigh on 22 years.
Yes.
Eric Von Haessler
You
and
understand.
Fat Bottom Girls make the rock and roll go round. That's basically what it was.
Those are two things you
guys,
need. I don't
and
know
the Fat
if-
Bottom Girls.
I don't know if those are the only two things, but the world don't go around without those two things. That's for sure.
You've been in Atlanta for a score plus 2.
I certainly have.
Hey, steady.
And a penny.
A score is 20 years.
That's right.
So he was talking about 4 score and 20 years. No, 4 score and 10 years ago. 7 years ago. So he was talking about 4 score. 2 times 4 is 8. Plus 7.
87.
I think it's 87.
You think? 4 score and 7 years ago.
Which really wasn't that long before. 80. There was someone who was alive when.
Yeah. Well, you know, the beauty.
1776
I think the beauty of that when the Civil War documentary came around, and it was so big in the 80s, the most effective part of it was the very end where they showed parades, film footage of parades from the 1920s who had the oldest Civil War. So, and it really brought it together. If you're sitting in the 1980s going, it just hadn't occurred to me that there were people in the 1920s who fought in that war that were still alive. And it really kind of brought it together. Like, it has not been that many years. The same thing with
it's one of those things.
7 years ago.
It happened before I was alive. It's all lumped together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think for me, the world that I was born into, if it happened before World War II, it all got lumped together. I was born in 1964, so I was born 20 years, so like 19 years after
Because of the age
war
of people
ended.
that you knew when you were coming up,
Yeah,
right?
because like the World War II thing was still, Pearl Harbor was still a big thing.
And the Depression.
And the Depression. Pearl Harbor, I didn't really get Pearl Harbor until 9/11. Because I wasn't there but when 9/11 happened and the way everybody was affected by it, I thought, oh, now I understand how Americans felt about Pearl Harbor. Because it was really just kind of a date and a thing to me because I was born in 1964. We learn a lot on the podcast 30.
Yes, we do. Japanese in 2001 were like, whew.
Finally, they were off the hook because I was... I wasn't hating on it.
When you go to visit Pearl Harbor, it is interesting the amount of Japanese tourists that are there.
Yeah, well,
and it's weird to. I was putting myself in their shoes. You know, if you don't have anything to do with the people that committed this act or whatever.
Well, if you went to
But at the same
Hiroshima and posed and smiled.
Yeah, exactly.
As an American?
Yes.
As an American, right.
Do they still have those shadow things that are just the reflections of people that were, because the light was so powerful. Now are they real or were they an artist depiction?
They preserved them because it was the flash.
The flash was so powerful that all that was left behind was like a flash bulb going off, and people's like how do you just the outline, their shadows, the outline of their shadow
Well, that's
was
why they
left behind.
say-
So I would say, yeah, going as an American and posing in front of one of those things might not be the coolest thing in the world.
A couple of years ago, there was a girl at Auschwitz who took a selfie, and then it went viral. But
Yeah.
she was big, goofy, smiling.
I know, but then people got all outraged. Just like, you know what? She was there. Whatever. These things lose their power when they become iconic. To a certain
Bringing
degree.
it back to Bieber, at the Anne Frank Museum, didn't he sign the guest book? I guessing Anne Frank would have been a believer. Yep. Something like that.
Oh, my goodness. Well, listen. At that time, he kind of believed that because, what was she,
He
14,
believed that,
15?
please.
So, he pretty much had a lock on the 14-year-old
He was also
girl.
bulimic at that point, too. He had
I've never
problems with that.
seen...
It's part of his depression.
She died in the concentration camps, but she was not killed. She
Right.
died of
typhus.
She died of typhus at the
Oh.
very end of the war.
What is typhus? Yeah.
Well, it's a lung thing, isn't it?
You get typhus from lice.
Typhoid fever?
Something to do with typhoid.
Yeah, you get it from lice.
Oh, really? Does it go after your lungs for some reason?
I don't know the actual disease.
Well,
I
somebody
just know where
look
it
it
comes
up.
from.
your brain
If
and
only
get
we
down
had
to
a
your
machine
lungs.
that would fit in the palm of our hand.
An infectious disease caused by, I don't know how to say it, rickets.
Rickets is a different thing.
Rickettsii, characterized by a purple rash, headaches, fever, and usual delirium.
That's delirium?
Yeah,
Delirium?
excuse me.
Delirium.
He's back to
Sorry.
believer.
It's a very deliberate
Delirium.
delirium. You have to concentrate and become delirious.
There are several forms transmitted by vectors such as lice, ticks, mites, and rat fleas.
But what does it go after? What organ? You're saying it's a big rash. It's hurts the
Nervous system, I guess.
There's a sudden onset of fever, other flu-like symptoms.
Typhus.
Isn't that epoxis?
No rickets though.
Oh.
That's
then the rash spreads. It spares the face, palms, and soles.
Wow.
And then
as long as I can cover up and go out for the evening.
And go out looking handsome.
Yeah.
Don't have to worry about that in the concentration camp.
George
did you,
Clooney never had to worry about
Bacterial
typhus.
infection.
Yeah, we established that.
Today's show is brought to you
Guys,
by
it
the
was
numbers
spread by
3 and
lice.
0 and typhus.
Guys, you get a rash.
It's behind Autumn.
Read mouse. If you
No,
wanna
it
know
doesn't.
how
It
spread.
spares your behind.
Bieber's really losing his mind.
If you want to prevent it, good hygiene and clean living conditions will help.
That prevents a lot of things.
Yes.
That's actually hygiene.
Don't eat rat
living
feces.
hygienically actually will. It's better than an apple a day to keep the doctor away. It turns out.
Well,
Good
I can't-
hygiene.
That
Clip
triggers
your
me.
fingernails. I always
That-
feel like
that triggers me. An apple a day, I can't do that.
Let me. You can't. Let me ask you this. Why do people get dirt under their fingernails? Doesn't that just tell you that you should have clipped your fingernails? I keep my fingernails like this. There's no way that dirt can get.
I'm
under
always
there.
picking
How
and
do you
chewing
open
mine, so-
cans?
I had my wife do it.
Your key. Use your car key.
No, the dirt under your fingernails builds up your immune system.
Whatever.
Let me see how your fingernails are.
He's got perfectly clean
Wait, how
fingernails.
does it build up your immune system? There's no
But see, I don't-
mucus
you-
membrane in there.
When they get dirty, you bite them.
Yeah.
Bite 'em,
Yeah. Yours is you kind of keep a little bit of nail and you're actually doing it right. I don't know how to do that, so mine are always down to the nubs. And I just figure, I never have to worry about dirt under the fingernails.
Do you worry, Eric, cutting them that each time you cut them a little bit shorter and shorter, and at some point they're going to be halfway up the nail bed?
No. I don't worry about it.
Because
I'm just being honest.
well, I cut mine
Seems to be a
similarly.
strange worry.
Yeah.
Well, I cut mine similarly
Do you lay
to you.
awake at night,
where each
Eric, thinking about that?
I don't.
no, this isn't a stupid question.
Hey, Greg.
The moment a little bit of the white starts to show on the nail, I want to
Yeah.
cut it off, and I think that starts to show a little lower each time, so it continues to get cut down.
You weren't saying it was a stupid question. It was just
you're
Eric's
dense.
reaction to it.
Being
It was
obtuse.
Eric's reaction to it.
Here's the guy from Telemundo. I get what you're saying. Right now I have. Remember when I hurt my big toe? So many months ago.
Yeah, that's
It takes a long time. My nail is only halfway back.
Ooh, I like that.
Should have ripped it right off.
What?
You don't need that big toenail.
Yeah, pull it
No,
down.
I mean, no, it's all gone. It worked its way out, and then the new one is only halfway.
Yeah, it takes
Good
a
long time.
year
Yeah.
to
Those grow slower.
fully from the beginning
And
to
I
the
keep
end.
dropping things on that foot.
Oh yeah, you will.
What is
Some
going on
weird
with
thing
you?
is going on where I keep dropping things on the foot.
My
Same
left,
foot.
my left pinky toe, my little toe, has been a mutant for years. Ever since a 500-pound tractor hitch dropped on it on a concrete
Yeah, there's something you
farmyard
do.
one
You
day.
go to doctors about. I
Can't
think
do anything about it.
think my toe's broken. Yeah, well, good luck.
The toe's
You gotta
not
watch
broken.
out.
The nail
This
just
is-
grows back really thick.
This is how Jack Daniels died. He kicked his safe.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't remember the combination, and then he got gangrene and died.
Really?
But it wasn't 2020
That's
when that
terrible.
happened. But, is that how he died?
Yes.
You should have poured some whiskey on it.
They fell on me.
No, but you know where I lost the nail, and then I dropped an entire candle.
A candle?
I was just like moving something, and the whatever it was, I knocked a candle.
Big glass container.
One of those big candles full. Turned over and landed on my foot and bruised right up to the nail for 2 weeks. Like so I was like, oh no, is this going to start all over again? And then I knocked something else the other day.
Be careful around that toe, mate.
Something about this foot.
That's weird because
that's
weird. A lot of toe talk because Ellie also has like a weird
toe talk.
Toenail issue right now.
What's her toenail issue?
Well, I don't know. The other day,
Hey,
it was
hold on,
like
you're on toe talk.
404-872-0750.
Call in with your toe talk.
Can we talk about fingers too?
No, sir. That's
All right.
Mark Aram.
I'll call him tonight then.
Mark Aram covers fast food and fingers and finger foods
and fingers in your fast food.
No, she has, I don't know, like her nail, a big chunk of it was like sticking up and like needing to come off. And so I was bargaining with her last night that we could cut it off this morning, instead of last night. She was like, we'll do it in the morning. So then, then it was taken off this morning. It like fell off in bed somewhere.
My son Ian was, he's doing great now as a 22-year-old and one of the big colleges that everybody celebrates.
Those
Smart
toe
kid.
issues.
So I'll tell you, he did not. He didn't like people touching him. He didn't like, you couldn't put a hat on him. He'd start crying when he was like 2 or 3.
Wow.
But until he was about 5 or 6 or 7 years old, he would not let us cut his fingernails. He claimed that he could feel it. And I would tell him, no, you can't feel anything. You just think you can. So for years and years, I had to clip his fingernails while he was asleep.
Wow.
And then he'd wake up and I'd be like, aren't I proving my point? You didn't wake up in horror. You weren't screaming. But, he
It's
was
not
like
true.
4.
He probably has thick nail beds. It does hurt.
No, it doesn't hurt if you're not
But your
hitting.
nail, you're not cutting
If you
your
cut
nail.
it into the quick, it hurts.
You cut into the quick.
Yeah.
I find
cut into the quick.
I stand with Ian.
Cut
It
into
does
the quick,
hurt.
mate.
Hashtag I stand with Ian.
Toe talk.
It's already viral.
1877 fat toes.
Toe talk.
Toe talk for tomorrow.
Could be the name of the show.
I'm talking all the time.
That music is telling me that we are not only done with the radio show, but now we're done with the podcast 30. But then I'm reminded that it's only Monday. We got 4 more of these things. Everybody needs to relax. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
It's weird to see Greg without his glasses. I haven't seen him without his glasses in a long time.
Yeah,
Years.
yeah. He lost them in a drunken.
He's getting some old man eyes.
I put contacts in.
You got to watch out for those old man eyes.
Well, let me tell you.
No,
Let me tell
goodbye.
you.
No, goodbye. Sorry.
Tell
Bye.